Chapter 26. Buying clothes for my wife and sister-in-law. The market was quite lively, with many people setting up stalls to sell mountain goods and wild game, corn, soybeans, flour, and so on. It was late April. Just the right time for wild vegetables to come out in the mountains, like mountain millet, whole sprouts, thorny shoots, wild leeks, wild onions, big cat's claws, mountain celery, tender thorn shoots, and willow artemisia sprouts, among others. Besides wild vegetables, there were also many types of mushrooms. This season was the peak time for mountain products. In addition, some stalls displayed small animals caught from hunting. Rabbits, hazel grouse, wild chickens, and wild ducks were common. He also saw 2 small spotted deer in front of some stalls. In this era, the country hadn't completely opened up the market economy, and individual businesses hadn't received official approval, so there weren't many people doing business. Many people were afraid of being labeled as speculators. After all, this had been strictly enforced for over a decade, and even now, as individual businesses were starting to emerge, people were still cautious. However, transactions involving agricultural products at the market were generally overlooked. It was quite normal for farmers to exchange some surplus grain or mountain goods for money to live, especially since production teams no longer existed, and land was contracted to individuals. Farmers had to make a living, so the formation of this market transaction was a natural trend. Chendong had just unloaded the mule, tied it aside, and opened the bag covering the pork, revealing more than 20 flying dragons, as well as hazel grouse and wild chickens. Especially with those 9 live flying dragons flapping their wings, quite a few people gathered around. Flying dragons are not easy to keep alive. They are wild and hard to tame. Even if caught, they wouldn't eat or drink and would last only 2 or 3 days at best. Wow, man, you're impressive. Did you hit the flying dragon nest? How did you catch so many flying dragons at once? Good luck, good luck. A whole bunch of flying dragons gathered together in a nest, and I shot them down with 2 shots. Hey, how about a flying dragon? Pork on the ground. Flying dragons in the sky, just a little stew, and it's delicious. No, such expensive things, I can't afford it. How many pounds of pork can 1 pound of flying dragon buy? Come on, you're not making sense. Pork can't compare to the taste of flying dragons. How about a few pounds of pork? This is from the wild boar I hunted yesterday, all cleaned up. No thanks, wild boar meat is too tough. You might as well stick to your cornmeal and wild vegetable dumplings. That's the good stuff. Hey man, what is the price of flying dragons? $5 each. Can you make it cheaper? How much do you think? How about $2? Uncle, that price is negotiable. In other places, you might get surrounded and beaten up. After more than an hour, only a few pounds of wild boar meat were left, and the flying dragons were sold out. Still, many people liked this delicacy. And since it was already famous as mountain delicacy, some bought several to give as gifts. The live flying dragons sold for $4.50 each, while the dead ones went for $4. In total, over 200 pounds of wild boar meat sold for $120, and 21 flying dragons sold for $88.50. He didn't accept cornmeal, flour, or food stamps in exchange for meat. At the market, not bringing cash to buy things, and instead wanting to trade cornmeal or flour, didn't these people feel tired? Mainly. His father had also told him that bartering at the market had many tricks, and he should avoid such exchanges as much as possible. Things like cornmeal could be mixed with straw powder, and it wouldn't be noticeable. As for flour, the tricks were even deeper. Flour could be mixed with talcum powder, lime powder, or other white powders, and it would be impossible to distinguish even with the naked eye. Even if one ate it, the taste wouldn't reveal anything. In his father's words, it's no wonder the country cracks down on speculation because some business people are as cunning as the hair in a woman's underwear. With a few pounds of meat left, 2 or 3 pounds of marinated meat, a dead flying dragon, and a hazel grouse, he decided not to sell them and planned to take them back to give to Zhou Honglian. He wanted to treat Zhou Honglian to hazel grouse. Wouldn't she want to eat his chicken? However, it wasn't time to leave yet. He had to go to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy some things. The supply and marketing cooperative was right next to the market. He asked the neighboring villagers selling mountain goods to keep an eye on the mule cart while he walked towards the cooperative. Sister, how much is this outfit? After entering the supply and marketing cooperative, Chendong went to the clothing section and pointed to a blue tracksuit hanging there. 12, the female salesperson replied. All right, let me check the size. If it fits, I'll take 2 sets, Chendong said. Prices at the cooperative are non-negotiable. The marked price is the price. This is the town supply and marketing cooperative, and there aren't many goods. In front of the clothing counter, there are only a few items to choose from. The tracksuit he liked was available in 3 colors, reminiscent of the retro sportswear style. No, right now it actually belongs to the 1980s. This style isn't retro but rather currently in fashion. After a quick look at the sizes, Dong picked a blue one and a pink one. One for each of Su Yun's two sisters. As for Zhou Honglian, she wasn't at that level yet. The thing about him and her forming a group was a matter kept behind closed doors. A few days ago, in the morning, Jiang Daping had Zhou Honglian gather several elders from his family and mention the matter of forming a group. The family elders were surprised by the issue concerning his man's impotence, and one elder suggested that perhaps they could arrange for one of their sons to take care of Zhou Honglian. However, this idea was rejected by Zhou Honglian. She said that even if she were to have someone take care of her, it had to be someone she found suitable, not just any random man. With the woman saying this, Jiang Daping agreed, and several elders nodded in approval, promising to keep this matter a secret for Jiang Daping. If one day Jiang Daping truly came to it, he would ensure that Zhou Honglian's children would be included in the Jiang family tree and treated as Jiang family members. How about this woman's outfit? Dong pointed to a women's blue denim suit. After taking a look, he noticed the pants were the kind that fitted and showed off the legs. His sister-in-law had long, thin legs, so it would fit her quite well. As for the denim jacket, she should look quite youthful. Just this outfit. This is the most eye-catching outfit here. Dong also bought a thin light-colored wool coat, which is for Su Yun, and for pants, he picked a pair of dark blue straight polyester trousers. The combination of light and dark colors, paired with women's small leather shoes, perfectly embodies the image of a contemporary urban beauty. As for the shoes, he decided not to buy them for now. He spent nearly $50 on these two outfits. After buying 2 kilograms of white sugar, 3 kilograms of brown sugar, 2 small bags of fruit candy, and a large pack of Qianmen cigarettes, he came out of the supply and marketing cooperative. Women can't live without sweet drinks. There are now dozens of kilograms of flour at home, so he asked Su Yun to make some sweet buns to eat. One of the 2 small bags of fruit candy is for his mother. He spent $5 for the large pack of Qianmen, which is for his father. All these things added up to $62. He didn't buy clothes for his parents this time. He would buy them when he had more money next time. Mainly because clothes are too expensive. Since he has been reborn, he doesn't mind taking a little longer to be filial. Dong was thinking about saving more money in the future, using the Spirit Spring space in the port city to bring back some cheap clothes to sell in the mainland. He could definitely make a fortune. After leaving the supply and marketing cooperative, he returned to the mule cart, put his things away, and walked towards a nearby stall where several dogs were tied up. Next, he wanted to buy a few dogs. These dogs were of decent quality, with some bloodline from the Awenki hunting dog, especially the lead dog among them, which the seller claimed was a hybrid of the Awenki hunting dog and a wolf, possessing wolf blood, quick in pursuit, and very fierce. It was definitely a top-notch powerful dog. The so-called powerful dog is actually similar to a heavyweight. Throughout the morning, many people inquired about the price, but not a single dog had been sold, making it the best time for Dong to buy dogs. Chapter 27. Big Black directly takes down the wolf-blooded hunting dog. There were a total of 5 dogs in front of this stall. The stall owner was an elderly man in his 60s, dressed in the clothing of a mountain ethnic minority and wearing a rabbit fur hat. Dong approached with a smile. "Old man, these 5 dogs look quite decent." The old man, puffing on his pipe, replied somewhat indignantly, "What? You, a pork seller, want to play with dogs?" As he spoke, he turned his gaze aside, not taking Dong's words seriously. Dong was indeed selling pork not far away, but the old man didn't think someone selling pork could afford his dogs. Dong couldn't help but twitch his mouth. This old man was quite stubborn. Before Dong could speak, Big Black seemed to sense something was off with the old man's words and barked loudly at him. "Woof, woof, woof. Woof, woof, woof." Big Black arched his body, mouth open wide, looking quite fierce. "Woof, woof, woof. Woof, woof, woof." The 5 dogs beside the old man also barked back at Big Black. Among them, the Awenki hunting dog with wolf blood had its fur standing on end, showing its fangs, also looking very fierce. As the leading dog among the 5, it sensed a potential threat from Big Black, the big local dog. "Big Black, stop barking." Dong patted Big Black's head and then smiled at the old man. "Old man, what do you mean by saying I want to play with dogs? I'm a hunter. Isn't it normal to have dogs? You don't think the wild boar meat I sell comes from someone else, then I sell it as a second-hand dealer, do you?" The old man turned to look at Dong. "You're a hunter? Fourth grandpa, tell this old man whether I'm a hunter or not." Dong smiled at the elder from his village who was showing him the mule cart. Fourth grandpa grinned and said to the old man, "I tell you, This grandson of mine is indeed a hunter. It's a family tradition for 3 generations. Don't let his young age fool you. He's a good hunter. Yesterday, he shot a big boar weighing 300 or 400 pounds and 2 others weighing 200 pounds. He's impressive, Dong thought. Although it sounded like fourth grandpa was praising him, he felt a bit unhappy. This grandson seemed to be mocking him a bit, right? By generation, he was indeed fourth grandpa's grandson. Do you even have a big boar? The old man shook his head, somewhat incredulous. Dong smiled. Old man, age doesn't determine ambition. And hunting isn't just for the young. Don't underestimate me. I grew up in the mountains and dared to face big black bears with a fire stick. A big boar is nothing. It's easy to handle. Well, believe it or not, I see you've been selling for a whole morning, and these dogs haven't sold. I think these dogs look decent, and I plan to buy them back and train them to accompany me hunting. The old man smiled. You have a good eye. These dogs are Awenki dogs, and this one is a descendant of a wolf and a Awenki dog. If you buy them, you won't have to worry about powerful dogs. Any one of these dogs is better than your local dog. While the old man praised his dogs, he pointed at Big Black and laughed. This kind of tactic of elevating his own while putting down others not only made Dong feel a bit unhappy, but even Big Black, the sturdy one, felt a bit displeased, barking loudly at the old man. The 5 dogs he had immediately started barking at Big Black as well. Who is Big Black? He's the king of dogs in the area. Plus, after drinking the spirit spring water during this time, his physical abilities had greatly increased. Naturally, he was not afraid of the barking of these 5 dogs, so he barked even louder. If Dong hadn't held Big Black's head, he might have charged at them. Old man, you have to have some limits when boasting. These dogs are at most mixed Awenki dogs. As for the one you say has wolf blood, I can't see any wolf blood in it. It just has a bigger head. You can fool those who don't know. But you can't fool those of us who deal with dogs every day. Don't underestimate my dog. Although it's a local dog, it's a good hunting dog raised in the area. Coincidentally, it's also a powerful dog. The big boar I killed yesterday was brought down by it. You said you haven't sold any dogs all morning. You should know why, right? Dong said a lot in one breath, countering the old man's words. Even if he didn't buy these dogs, Dong needed to stand up for Big Black. Haha, old man, what this young man said may be rough, but it's not unreasonable. These dogs of yours are just like this. They're not purebred, yet you want to sell them for such a high price, 50 each. Old man, you treat these dogs as treasures, but they are clearly food to be killed, and you still want to sell them at hunting dog prices. 2 second-hand dealers wandering around the market also came over to mock him. They were just looking for cheap goods at the market, buying them back, and then reselling them. In addition, they also sold various tickets. Dong had bought a few sugar tickets from them, where a ticket for 1 kilogram of sugar cost 1 dime. In the supply and marketing cooperative, he spent 90 cents plus 1 ticket to buy 1 kilogram of white sugar. Both brown sugar and white sugar were in high demand and could only be bought with tickets. After Dong said this, along with the remarks from the 2 second-hand dealers, the old man's face turned a bit ugly. He clenched his neck, his face turning red and thick, and said to Dong, "You young man, what do you know about dogs? After a couple of days of hunting, you think you know dogs well?" "Yes. My dogs are mixed, but they are all good at hunting. Your local dog is also a powerful dog, and it even took down a big boar. Do you dare to let your dog fight against my dog? If my dog loses, I'll sell you all these dogs at the price of a local dog." Then he turned to the 2 dog dealers, puffing his cheeks and glaring. "You 2 want to buy my dog to kill for me? No matter how much you offer, I won't sell. My dog is a hunting dog, not a dog to be served on a table." Dong chuckled inwardly, and then deliberately waved his hand, saying, "Old man, come on, you're just angry right now. If my dog beats your dog, will you still refuse to admit defeat and sell me your dogs at the price of local mutts? Anyway, everyone in the nearby villages knows how fierce my dog is. And I'm not lying. It really did take down that big cannon egg yesterday. Of course, if you say your dog is good, I won't argue with you. I'm not going to quibble with an old man like you and make you even angrier. You're not the only one selling dogs. If I run into someone else tomorrow, I can buy theirs." As he spoke, he was about to turn and leave. The old man shouted loudly, "You brat, stop right there. How am I being unreasonable? Fine. Let's have our dogs fight. If my dog loses and I don't sell you my dogs at local mutt prices, may I never have peace." The old man glared, stomping his feet in anger. Dong chuckled and shrugged. "Old man, at your age, why are you so hot-headed? Let us have our dogs fight properly. It's not about the money, but about pride. I don't believe your local mutt can beat my dog with wolf bloodline." The old man was clearly agitated. Dong said, All right then, if you insist, let's have a fight. He placed his hand on Dahay's head and gently patted it, saying, Dahay, make sure to perform well. Don't embarrass me. Dahay wagged its tail, rubbing against Chun Dong's hand, and its eyes seemed to look down on the wolf-blooded hunting dog. Chun Dong didn't care whether he won or lost. He wouldn't be at a disadvantage. If he won, he would get a few dogs for a bargain. If he lost, he would just use the old man's dog for a dog meat hot pot. Dahay's tail stiffened, and the fur on its back bristled, its entire demeanor suddenly changing. When the old man loosened the leash on the wolf-blooded dog, he disdainfully said, You think your local mutt can be a match for my dog? Dahay was indeed smaller than the wolf-blooded dog. In dog fights, size could directly determine the outcome. The two dogs rushed at each other almost simultaneously. Whoosh! Dahay was clearly faster, just 2 or 3 meters away from the wolf dog. It suddenly jumped up and pounced on it. Thud! The wolf dog was knocked down by Dahay, and before it could turn over, Dahay's large mouth clamped down on its neck. A whoa! The wolf dog was so frightened that it howled in agony and then urinated. The old man's expression, which had originally been disdainful, froze in the next moment. His wolf-blooded hunting dog was defeated by a local mutt in an instant? This, Chun Dong said. Old man, it seems your wolf-blooded dog isn't very impressive. Why not let these 5 dogs go at it together? Dahay, still pinning the wolf dog down, lifted its head upon hearing Chun Dong's words and made a whimpering sound, as if to say, Master, I can take on 5 at once. Stop showing off. Chapter 28. You still call me brother-in-law? Good dog, just lock the neck. Old man, your wolf-blooded dog is useless. It got scared and urinated after being locked by a local mutt, and the other 4 dogs are so scared they're tucking their tails. Old man, weren't you very confident in your dog? How come it's scared stiff after just 1 neck lock? The 2 dog dealers watching couldn't help but tease the old man. As for the other bystanders, they were just praising Chun Dong's Dahay. As a local mutt, facing a larger dog, it directly took it down and locked its throat, scaring the other 4 dogs into submission. Good dog, bad dog, the difference is clear. The old man stared with wide eyes, his chest heaving violently as if something was stuck in his throat. This result was unexpected. His prideful hunting dog was defeated by a local mutt, and it was done in 1 move. Furthermore, the other 5 dogs were so scared they submitted. Chun Dong waved his hand, saying, Old man, now you believe I'm a hunter, right? Don't underestimate my local dog. It has fought wolves, chased tigers, bitten black bears, and taken down big cannon eggs. Its fighting experience is not something an ordinary dog can compare to. I also have 2 more that are even better than Dahay. I'm interested in your dogs because they seem decent. I sincerely want to buy them, and I won't make you lose too much. I won't buy them at local mutt prices. I saw that at the market, a local mutt goes for 15. How about I give you 20 each? If you don't agree, then forget it. I'll just wait until I meet another seller next time. I won't think of you as being unreasonable. So don't feel bad. I think these dogs are fine. They'll be much better off hunting in the mountains than being served on a table. The old man, blushing, finally managed to squeeze out, Fine, I'll sell them to you for 21 each. I think it's indeed better for them to follow you into the mountains to hunt than to be served on a table. Chun Dong handed over 10 large notes to the old man, who reluctantly handed over the leashes of the 5 dogs, grumbling, You young men are very particular. Take good care of them. This price was much lower than he had expected. He had thought these dogs were of the Awenki hunting breed, having gone on many hunts. The lead dog was a top-quality working dog. If a hunter had set eyes on them, they could easily fetch 40 or 50 each. However, he never expected his hunting dog to be so easily defeated by a local mutt. The key point was that he publicly admitted defeat and agreed to sell them at local mutt prices. Now selling each dog for 20 was still $4 to $5 more than local mutt prices, so he felt he had made a profit. Yet, he felt something was off, but he couldn't quite place it. Only by using tricks can one win hearts. Without some tricks, it would have cost him dozens more. Chun Dong watched the old man walk away, leading the 5 dogs, and tied them to either side of the cart. The old man surely didn't expect that from the moment Chun Dong started talking to him, he had already planned to trick him regarding the dogs. Bargaining for dogs? He probably thought Chun Dong was a hunter and wouldn't sell cheaply. Therefore, Chun Dong coaxed him into underestimating Dahay and then had Dahay fight his prideful dog. The price naturally went down. In the end, he even made the old man say he was a person of taste. Dahay, well done. When we get back, I'll give you an extra meal and a few more bones to chew on. I treat you well, right? I know you like chewing bones, so I'll give you a few more. Chun Dong rubbed Dahay's head. The key to the price drop was Dahay. Dahe had to be able to handle that working dog. Fortunately, the spiritual spring water had clearly improved Dahe's bloodline quality. Dahe shook its head and made a noise of agreement. Dahe, I want to eat meat. Qindong. No, you like eating bones. With these few extra dogs, Qindong could now plan to go hunting in the old forest. It all depended on whether Air Mao could borrow his father's 56 half. In the coming days, he would properly train these dogs to work well with De Huang and the others. With De Huang and the other two around, he believed these dogs would obediently follow orders. With Dahe and Xiao Huang as support, they would just need to act as the backup for the other dogs. The time to hunt in the old forest can be scheduled. As noon approached, Qindong hurried his mule cart and arrived at Jiang Daping's home. Parking the cart at his doorstep. Big Black, keep an eye on things here and don't let anyone steal old Bai and those few big guys. Qindong instructed as he tied the mule cart to an old jujube tree at the entrance. In this day and age, there are quite a few thieves. They steal everything, from large items like bicycles to small things like pot lids and even shoes and socks. However, no one would be so blind as to steal the mule, right? Are these 6 big dogs just for show? On the way, he fed the 5 dogs. Taking out a large piece of wild boar meat from the storage space, cutting it into pieces, and giving each of them more than a pound. The 5 dogs were clearly looking at him with flattering eyes. Dogs don't just recognize their master. It's not as high-minded as it sounds. Qindong carried a bag containing 6 or 7 pounds of meat, along with the cornmeal and flour Su Yan asked him to bring for Zhou Honglian, and walked into Jiang Daping's small courtyard. As soon as he entered the courtyard, he saw Zhou Honglian, dressed in a small floral vest with a red autumn shirt underneath, sitting at the door of the main room, sorting through items in a winnowing basket. On several bamboo poles in front of the main room, strings of hazel mushrooms and other mushrooms were drying, along with pickled fern shoots. Sister Honglian, busy huh? Qindong smiled and said. Upon seeing Qindong, Zhou Honglian immediately looked up, lightly flicking her disheveled bangs, standing up with a slightly blushing smile, and saying, Brother-in-law, you're here. Qindong nodded. I came. I hunted 3 wild boars yesterday and sold some meat, and I also brought some marinated meat for you and brother-in-law. He raised the bag of meat in his hand. That night it was dark, so he couldn't see her figure clearly. Today, she wore an autumn shirt, which perfectly showcased her impressive figure. Her slightly wheat-colored duck egg-shaped face, though not adorned with makeup, still looked quite charming. Brother-in-law, why did you bring so much? Zhou Honglian approached with a smile. Qindong handed over the items, leaning in closer to her side and whispering with a mischievous smile, You still call me brother-in-law? His hands unceremoniously reached over. Qindong, stop it. Zhou Honglian had a faint, pleasant fragrance about her. Zhou Honglian, with a red face, softly spat out, Stop messing around. I'll come to your house when I have time in the next few days. They were both adults. Although Zhou Honglian had not gone through the full rites of marriage, she knew what was what. All right, haha, Qindong chuckled. Really super impressive. Honglian, who is it? Jiang Daping's voice came from inside. Zhou Honglian quickly took the items Qindong brought and responded to the inside. It's Qindong. He brought a lot of things over. Brother-in-law, I came to see you guys. I hunted 3 wild boars yesterday, sold some pork, and brought some marinated pork over. Qindong said with a smile as he walked into the room, but as he passed by Zhou Honglian, his hands were again unrestrained. A sneak attack. Zhou Honglian, with a red face, turned her back to Qindong, showing a slight smile. She didn't dislike Qindong. Men who are not lustful, are they still men? Besides, their relationship was already understood. He had a little flirtation with her. Wasn't that to be expected? She even somewhat liked that feeling. However, Jiang Daping was still in that state, lying on the bed, struggling to get up, looking thin and pale, his eyes bulging, and his skin sickly white. Zhou Honglian took the items Qindong brought and told Jiang Daping she was going to make lunch. Jiang Daping asked her to make more and invited Qindong to stay for lunch. Qindong, you hunted 3 wild boars? Jiang Daping asked curiously. Qindong briefly explained how he shot a big one and found 2 wild boars, also mentioning he had caught more than 20 flying dragons. It wasn't about showing off. He subconsciously wanted to tell Jiang Daping, Don't worry, I will take good care of your wife. Your 3 dogs are impressive. They managed to pin down the big one, and you were decisive enough to shoot it in the head. But in the future, it's better to be less reckless. Let the dogs tire the prey out first before going in. Hunting shouldn't just be about being reckless. Jiang Daping praised Qindong seriously, his eyes glistening with tears as he spoke. He was reminded of how he had gotten into trouble for being too reckless while hunting in the mountains. Thinking of his current state, his newlywed wife, whom he hadn't even touched, he felt a bit unwilling. Qindong nodded. Brother-in-law, I know about this. At that time, I saw it was almost done, so I dared to go up. Otherwise, I would definitely have stayed quietly up in the tree. You think I'm like you? Your painful experience constantly reminds me to be careful when hunting in the future. You're really a good person. Thank you, Zhang Daping said. That's fine, but seriously, you're quite lucky to have found 2 big pigs and encountered a group of flying dragons near the village. I heard from Honglian that you've been hunting for the past few days, and you have been successful every day. That's really great, Zhang Daping smiled. Qindong immediately replied, I'm just lucky. You know hunting relies on the mountain gods for food. Zhang Daping shook his head and smiled. Once or twice is luck. If it happens continuously, that's skill. You're indeed a skilled hunter. Your father is a well-known hunter in our area. How could your level be low if you learned from him since you were little? It's a pity I sold my gun during that time. Otherwise, I could have lent you my Mosin Nagant modified hunting rifle. With 1 long and 1 short gun, that's more security. Qindong laughed. I also brought a flying dragon for you guys. Let Honglian stew it for you to eat. He thought to himself, with you in this condition, if I asked to borrow your gun again, would that still be human? Then Qindong took out a small stack of money from his pocket. Brother-in-law, here is 200. I'll pay you back some of the debt first, and I'll give you the other 100 another day. Qindong, don't worry about the debt. The one who lent me money is my cousin, and he hasn't urged me to pay it back. Just keep some money for yourself, Zhang Daping quickly said. Qindong smiled. Brother-in-law, just take this money. I still have some left. All right, since you say so, I'll give the money to Honglian, and she can pay my cousin back another day, Zhang Daping said. After saying this, he looked outside and whispered, Qindong, about you and Honglian. Brother-in-law, let me explain first. Don't rush, Qindong said. Qindong thought, why are you in such a hurry? The emperor isn't anxious, but the eunuch is. Zhang Daping anxiously said, I'm anxious. Of course I'm anxious. I'm thinking whether I can see the child being born, so hurry up about it. Sweat. Zhang Daping frowned again and said, Qindong, do you dislike that Honglian has been married to me? I'll be honest with you. I haven't even touched her yet, and then Zhang Daping said, and suddenly burst into tears. In the kitchen of the small house outside, Zhou Honglian was tying on an apron, standing at a small cutting board chopping vegetables. When she saw Qindong walk in, she turned her head and said, Qindong, just talk to Daping. I can cook by myself. The next moment, Qindong, stop it. This suddenly woke both of them up. Zhou Honglian, who was leaning on the stove, quickly stood up and glanced at Qindong behind her, her heart sinking when she saw that the newcomers were 2 men from Jiangjiagu, good friends of Zhang Daping, who came to visit him. Qindong exchanged a few casual pleasantries with them, because they had prepared delicious food at home today. Zhang Daping invited them to stay and eat, so they could keep Qindong company. However, Qindong suddenly remembered that his mother had instructed him to go to his sister's house to pick her up, so he decided not to eat and was about to leave. He was worried that if he stayed, his temper might flare up, and he could end up in a fight with these 2 men from Jiangjiagu over a disagreement. If it weren't for these 2 brats, he and Zhou Honglian would have been together by now. Just thinking about it made him angry. Sister Honglian, after leaving Zhang's house just now, Qindong quietly said to Zhou Honglian as she walked him to the door. Zhou Honglian blushed and responded with a soft then whispered, you should stay indoors for the next couple of days. After saying that, she quickly turned around, took a deep breath, and calmed her emotions. Hey, wait for you, Qindong said mischievously to Zhou Honglian. After that, he walked in front of Lao Bai, untied the reins, and gave the whip a crack, making Lao Bai pull the mule cart away. Dahe walked in front, and the 5 dogs he bought were tied to the cart. Standing at the door, Zhou Honglian watched Qindong drive the mule cart further and further away, and her heart seemed to fly to his side. I'm really crazy, she thought. Qindong, who seemed to be honest, turned out to be so bad. When she decided to let Qindong be her partner, she had already acknowledged him as a man in her heart. The reason she agreed to Zhang Daping was that if she really wanted to partner up, it would be with Qindong. She didn't consider anyone else. Not only were she and Su Yun fellow villagers and good sisters, but actually, when they first started matchmaking, she also had her eyes on Qindong. However, Qindong liked Su Yun instead, compared to Zhang Daping's ordinary appearance. Qindong was young and handsome, with both parents and siblings. Due to a natural disaster, she had become an orphan, so naturally, when choosing a marriage partner, She longed for a family with both parents and many relatives. Therefore, Chun Dong, choosing Su Yun as his wife, left her feeling somewhat unwilling. Knowing that Chun Dong agreed to partner up, she had already determined in her heart that Chun Dong was her future man. His eagerness to be with her proved his charm. Thinking of Chun Dong made her feel a bit shy, but more than that, she felt expectant and eager to try. After the two men in the village visited Jiang Daping, they quickly left. Even though he invited them to stay for dinner, Jiang Daping couldn't get out of bed. So would they have Zhou Honglian keep him company for dinner? That wouldn't be right. Honglian, you should eat more meat. You've been with me for over a year, and I've made you suffer, not even getting to eat meat a few times, Jiang Daping said to Zhou Honglian, who brought in corn porridge with minced meat. His current state only allowed him to eat soft food. Zhou Honglian replied, Daping, why are you saying that? You eat. There's quite a bit of flying dragon meat in this, and as for what I eat, there's also plenty of meat. The meat that Chun Dong brought over added up to almost 10 pounds. Since a few days ago when Chun Dong came to their house to confirm the partnership, Zhou Honglian's family had been eating a lot of meat. Zhou Lanxin would bring her some meat every few days. Over the past few days, she had eaten more meat than she had during the year and more with Jiang Daping. Jiang Daping said, Chun Dong is a pretty good guy. He is always thinking about us. He just gave me 200 yuan, saying to use this first to help us through the famine. The remaining 100 will come in a few days. Nowadays, getting a wife doesn't even take 300. He is really caring for us. Zhou Honglian nodded in agreement. If Chun Dong knew Jiang Daping thought this way, he would say it's different. Spending this 300 is for a woman his wife agrees to find. But would his wife agree to spend 300 on other women? Honglian, you need to get on with things with Chun Dong. If you don't hurry, he might think we're just trying to swindle his money. Also, I hope to see you give birth to the child before I leave, Jiang Daping said seriously. Zhou Honglian hurriedly replied, Daping, what nonsense are you talking about? Don't think of bad things. As for my matter with him, I understand. Sitting on the mule cart, Chun Dong saw a tree with a tree hole by the roadside, and even 2 female dogs made him feel a surge of anger. His mind was filled with Zhou Honglian's exaggerated granary and that peach-shaped bottom. Next time, he wouldn't talk too much, he'd just act. Xiao Wu, you're back. I'm back. Xiao Wu, weren't you supposed to go to the market to sell meat? How come you brought back a few dogs? I was thinking of hunting, and since I'm hunting, it doesn't hurt to bring back a few more dogs. I'll just have to feed them a bit more. Xiao Wu, the dogs you bought are pretty good. They look quite sturdy, a bit like a Wenky dogs. Not bad at all. Second uncle, your eyesight is good. These dogs are indeed a Wenky mixes, just the offspring of wolves and a Wenky dogs, but they're fierce. The descendants of a Wenky and wolves are quite sturdy. These few must not have been cheap. Of course, hunting dogs can't be cheap. If you were to buy them properly, each would cost over 100. This is just for fun. Xiao Wu, you've struck it rich. Just buying these few dogs is worth more than what your brother makes in a year or two at the office. Back in the village, many people saw the few dogs Chun Dong bought, and he quickly chatted with them, trying to show off a bit. With Zhou Honglian interrupted. Even his way of speaking had a hint of showing off. Soon, he drove the mule cart back home. Hearing the barking of De Huang and Xiao Huang, his sister-in-law, who was eating, came out of the room and was surprised to see Chun Dong back. Brother-in-law, why are you back at noon? Didn't you say you were going to eat at Sister Honglian's? Chun Dong shook his head and smiled. They just happened to have 2 strangers over. So I thought it'd be better to come back. Eating with those 2 strangers doesn't feel right. Su Yan also came out and briefly asked about Jiang Daping and Zhou Honglian. She then noticed the few dogs Chun Dong bought and inquired about their prices. When Chun Dong took out the clothes he bought to show his sister-in-law and wife, his sister-in-law was so happy she jumped up. Brother-in-law, how did you know I've always wanted this denim outfit? I can't believe you actually bought it for me. Brother-in-law, I really love you. His sister-in-law excitedly told Chun Dong while holding the denim outfit. Chapter 31. How much did you spend on these 5 dogs? Chun Dong smiled and said, I saw how your eyes lit up when we went to the supply and marketing cooperative the other day, looking at this denim outfit. So I figured you'd definitely like it. Are you satisfied now? I bought you 2 outfits at once. As for shoes, I'll take you and your sister to buy them at the cooperative next time when I catch some big game. I'm a bit tight on money after buying the dogs this time. Thank goodness you live with us. If you lived outside and came home saying this to me, my wife would definitely be suspicious. Thank you, brother-in-law, you even thought of this. Whether to buy shoes or not doesn't matter. My sister and I have both learned to make shoe soles and cloth shoes. Zhou Lanxin, holding the 2 outfits, couldn't hide her excitement. Chun Dong smiled. Put it on quickly and see if it fits. Wife, You try it too and see how it looks. Su Yun smiled lightly and nodded. Okay. Soon, they changed into sportswear. Su Yun wore a pink sports outfit, giving off a gentle and fresh vibe. As for Zhou Lanxin, she wore a blue sports outfit, looking youthful and full of sunshine. Both outfits fit them well. Next, Su Yun changed into a light-colored wool coat and dark blue straight-leg pants. She looked like a woman working in a modern office, exuding a sense of elegance and grace. Wife, you look so beautiful in this outfit, Qindong said. After a while, I'll buy you a pair of leather shoes. When you go out dressed like this, you'll definitely turn heads. Qindong looked at Su Yun in her new outfit, gently touching her. Su Yun smiled softly. You really have a good eye. This outfit is not only well-fitted, but I also really like it. Qindong laughed. Of course, my taste is impeccable. Once I start earning more, I'll buy you a few more pieces. Su Yun shook her head. Don't buy them for now. I can make my own clothes in a few months, and besides, my belly will be quite big then. So even if I buy clothes, I won't be able to wear them. That's true, in 2 or 3 months. You won't be able to wear fitted clothes even if you want to. It's better to buy a few loose outfits for now. Qindong slapped his forehead, forgetting that Su Yun was pregnant. Su Yun asked, Did you buy anything for your parents? Qindong shook his head. I forgot. Su Yun frowned slightly. Dear, if your mother sees me and Lanxin in new clothes, she will definitely be upset. You can't just think of us. You also have to think of your parents. Look, your parents helped out so late yesterday and then helped again early this morning. Her words carried a hint of complaint. Qindong smiled. I was just joking, of course. I bought them something. If I didn't, I would be afraid my mom would pull my ear. I bought my mom her favorite candies and got my dad a good pack of cigarettes. Su Yun raised her fist playfully, pretending to be angry. You really tricked me. Sister-in-law, how do I look in this outfit? At this moment, Zhou Lanxin's voice came from the room. Zhou Lanxin walked out wearing a denim jacket on top and tight-fitting jeans below. She was 1.7 meters tall with long, slender legs, a slim figure, a pretty face full of collagen, and a pair of delicate braids. She looked youthful and vibrant, exuding a hint of charm. So cool. Very beautiful. If you walk into the village like this, you'll definitely attract a lot of attention from the men. Qindong gave a thumbs up in praise. Su Yun also nodded in approval. Lanxin, this denim outfit your brother-in-law bought for you really fits well. You look very pretty in it. Zhou Lanxin flipped her braid, a bit proudly saying, Sister, I'm already pretty, okay? Brother-in-law, thank you for the clothes. I won't wear them out for other men to see. Qindong couldn't help but laugh. If you don't wear such beautiful clothes out, what's the point of buying them? Zhou Lanxin smiled. I'll wear them at home for you and my sister to see. Hee. Don't show me. I'm blind and can't see, Qindong joked. He then said with a smile, All right, I'm hungry. Let's eat. The pork buns should be ready by now. At noon, Su Yun made pork and wild leek buns. There were still about 10 kilos of wild boar meat left at home. Su Yun said some of it would be used to make their local smoked meat, and then about 1 kilogram would be used for pork buns. In the morning, the two sisters went into the mountains to pick a lot of wild leeks and use them to make pork buns. Soon, a large basket of steaming pork buns was brought out. Even though they hadn't eaten yet, just smelling the aroma, they knew it would taste great. Sure enough, taking a big bite of a meat bun filled the mouth with the fragrant taste of wild leeks and crispy pork fat. There was a lot of crispy pork fat added to the bun mixture, making it incredibly delicious, especially when paired with a clove of garlic dipped in the homemade northeastern soybean paste. This little taste was worth more to Qindong than any delicacy. Wife, these buns you made are truly amazing. So delicious, really too good. After quickly finishing one big bun, Qindong praised Su Yun's bun-making skills. Su Yun smiled happily. Well, mainly because I added a lot of pork fat, so it tastes good. Zhou Lanxin, standing nearby, also chimed in, Brother-in-law, don't just praise my sister. I helped make buns too. Qindong laughed. All right, you also contributed. I'll reward you later. Qindong then ate 5 big buns in one go. The 3 dogs, Big Yellow, Small Yellow, and Big Black, squatted at the door, thinking Qindong was going to feed them whenever he raised his hand, tilting their heads eagerly. When they saw Qindong not giving them food, they wagged their tails and made little sounds. You 3 greedy ones, fine. I'll give each of you a piece of skin to satisfy your cravings. Qindong tore one bun into 3 pieces, eating the filling himself and tossing the skins to them. They lay on the ground happily eating the skins. Seeing them enjoy the skins so much, Qindong figured they liked the skin more than the filling. In this era, it was already a luxury for dogs to eat white bread skins. As for the other 5 dogs tied to a post, they were barking eagerly. But Chun Dong didn't plan to pay them any attention. He wanted to temper their temperament and let them get used to him as their new master. Dad, why are you here? Why didn't you go with Mom to visit my second sister? When Chun Dong saw his father walking into the yard with a smoking pipe, he immediately went up to ask with a smile. Chun Laoshu said, "Did you take away the mule cart, making me walk with your mother to your second sister's house?" Chun Dong chuckled, amused at the thought of his father, who had a limp, having to walk 7 or 8 miles to his second sister's house. "Dad, we made pork buns. Come eat a couple." Su-Yun came out with 2 buns from the table and handed the steaming buns to her father. He tucked his pipe into his waistband, rubbed his hands on his pants, and took the 2 large pork buns from Su-Yun, saying to Chun Dong with a hint of annoyance, "You son, you're not as good as your daughter-in-law. You don't even know to bring me buns." Chun Dong chuckled, "Dad, as long as you have buns to eat, that's fine, why complain? Besides, if my wife gives it to you, isn't that the same as me giving it to you?" His father took a bite of the bun and smiled. "How come you talk so smoothly now? Are you trying to become a college student?" Chun Dong laughed. "Dad, don't even mention college students. Even college professors can't compare to me. You brat, just because you hunted for a few days, you think you're so great? Still claiming to be better than college professors. Why don't you fly to the sky?" His father said, not pleased, then looked at the 5 dogs tied in the yard. "These 5 dogs seem decent, but I heard from your second uncle that one of them cost over 100. Are you rich enough to waste money on dogs that can be worth that much?" His father said again with some annoyance. Chun Dong shook his head and smiled. "Dad, I just said these dogs are worth over 100 each, but I never said I bought them for that much. Besides, I don't have that much money." He then remembered his childhood dream of holding a gun to his father's head and giving him a couple of slaps. As for the college professors, if they could teach him something, then his whole life would have been in vain. Hearing Chun Dong say this, his father immediately asked curiously, "How much did you spend on these 5 dogs?" Chapter 32, Did you get about 300? Dad asked. He knew Chun Dong had a couple of $100 on him. He was unsure about how well these dogs would hunt, but just looking at their appearance, they seemed pretty good. The person selling the dogs wound tea let him buy on credit. "I got all 5 for 150, Chun Dong said, shaking his eyebrows proudly. Dad shook his head in disbelief. "You brat, you think you could get these 5 dogs for that price? How is that even possible?" Chun Dong replied, "Dad, don't doubt me. Our village's 4th grandpa C also sold things at the market and knows I spent 100 on these 5 dogs." Dad still found it hard to believe. How could 5 Aleutian bloodline hunting dogs be so cheap? Chun Dong briefly explained how he had tricked that old man. After hearing this, Dad took a big bite of his bun, smiled, and praised, "You kid, you're quite clever." He didn't see anything wrong with tricking that old man. In business, if you don't have that kind of cleverness, who can you blame? Buyers want to lower prices while sellers want to raise them. That's just how it is. "Chun Dong, haven't you bought something for your parents?" Su-Yin reminded him from the side. Dad asked, "You bought something for me?" Chun Dong nodded and smiled. "I did. If I didn't buy it, Mom would have caused some trouble." Hearing this, Dad grunted unhappily. "You know your mother's temper. You should just listen with one ear and run with the other. Don't take it to heart. Daughter-in-law, you too. Just listen to half and run with half of what your mother says." Su-Yin just smiled. As a daughter-in-law, she didn't dare to agree with that. Chun Dong laughed. "Dad, I've already bought it. Why don't I wait for Mom to come back, and then we can give you the things together?" Dad's expression darkened a bit, and he grumbled, "Your mother said she would stay at Phone ES for 2 days. Su-Yin gently nudged Chun Dong's elbow and whispered, "Chun Dong, don't tease your dad." Dad picked up his smoking pipe, ready to hit Chun Dong, grumbling, "How old are you, still teasing me?" But as he spoke, he couldn't help but laugh. Chun Dong raised his hands in a mock plea. Dad, I was wrong. I'll give you and Mom everything I bought." Saying this, he hurried to the mule cart and took out a big front gate and a small bag of fruit candies, handing them to Dad. "Dad, you have to hide this well. Don't let Mom find it. Otherwise, she'll sell your cigarettes at the village sales point." Chun Dong reminded him with a smile. Dad had smoked all his life, and wasn't he going to quit? Chun Dong didn't think about changing his father's habits. Smoking is indeed harmful to health, but many people smoke and drink and live to be 80 or 100. It also depends on individual constitution. Remembering his childhood, when Dad worked at the production team or when the forest farm gathered hunters, they would give each laborer a box of cigarettes every day. But they were the cheap kind. Dad would bring them home, wanting to hide them and smoke them slowly. But Mom often found them and sold them at the village sales point, which Chun Dong used to buy candies and sweets. Thinking about it made Chun Dong feel nostalgic. The big front gate wasn't cheap. He was quite generous. "In this life, I can still enjoy the good cigarettes you bought for me. Dad nodded, chuckling. Qindong said, Dad, this is just the beginning. After some time, I'll let you smoke Zongnanhai every day, drink Su cigarettes, and have some vodka. Dad chatted for a bit more before changing the subject. Little 5, your Uncle Yu thinks that since you're hunting, let Air Zhuzi team up with you. I hadn't agreed at first, but seeing you bought a few decent dogs, plus the 3 big ones, it shouldn't be a problem to train them for a few days. Your shooting skills are okay, and having a strong partner like Air Zhuzi is just right. He is familiar with the big dogs your Uncle Yu raised. Let him take 2 big ones with him, and with all these dogs, you'll be pretty stable going into the mountains. You know Air Zhuzi, even though he is a bit simple, he is honest and obedient. The young people who eat from the mountains are too few now. That is why your Uncle Yu wants him to team up with you. If he follows others, he worries someone might bully Air Zhuzi. Your Uncle Yu is getting old, and he is thinking of finding someone trustworthy for Air Zhuzi. You know that when your dad managed to walk out of the mountains, it was your Uncle Yu who carried him out. Your Uncle Yu's temperament is compatible with mine, so he is also thinking about having us take care of Air Zhuzi in the future. Dad spoke a lot in one breath. Uncle Yu was Dad's hunting partner when he was younger, a strong guy. The so-called strong guy is mainly responsible for carrying the game or driving the pack animals to transport the game in a hunting team. If they encounter wild animals, they would participate in the fight to protect the shooters in the team. Air Zhuzi was a child Uncle Yu found in the mountains over 10 years ago and raised him bit by bit. Perhaps because he wasn't very bright. He was abandoned in the mountains. For all these years, he had been following Uncle Yu, raising reindeer and practicing the few techniques Uncle Yu taught him with a stick. At just 17, he was tall and strong, like a little calf, full of brute strength. Little 5, of course, this matter depends on your thoughts, Dad said seriously. Looking at Qindong. Qindong pretended to think seriously and said, Dad, let us forget about teaming up. I'm just hunting nearby. What is the need for a partner? Air Mao wanted to team up with me for hunting, and I didn't agree. If Air Zhuzi teams up with me, what would Air Mao think? Besides, with Air Zhuzi's mindset, he is not cut out for hunting. And I can't always be hunting, can I? How about this? I'm interested in those big ones from Uncle Yu's place. Let Air Zhuzi take 2 big ones with me into the mountains a few times to get familiar. And then I'll take the big ones myself to help carry things. I'll give him his share of the game I catch these few times. If I have money in the future, I'll buy him 2 big ones. As for him, he should still learn to farm with you. That is a solid living. I'm busy here, and my wife is also getting bigger, making it inconvenient for her to do farm work. He can help me manage the fields. And I'll pay him. Given that Uncle Yu saved your life, if Air Zhuzi has any issues, the 3 brothers will take care of it. You can rest assured about that. Maybe in the future, when I have money, I can help Air Zhuzi find a wife. That won't be a problem. The existence of the spiritual spring space, such a secret matter, determined that he wanted to be a lone wolf. If he hunted and got more game, he could store it in the spiritual spring space. Having 2 big ones to help transport the game would also make it appear that he caught a lot, serving as a cover. Dad thought for a moment and nodded. What you said makes sense. Air Zhuzi's mind isn't really suited for hunting. And you can't always hunt. It's indeed good for him to learn farming. As for your plan to buy big ones, I'll talk to your Uncle Yu about it. It shouldn't be a problem. If you're hunting alone, you really need 2 big ones to help you carry things. As for letting Air Zhuzi take the big ones with you for a few hunts, just give him a fair share. Dad, that won't work. Even though it's a temporary partnership, it should be done properly. One thing has to be one thing. It's actually the hardest to negotiate when it comes to conditions being similar. Qindong shook his head repeatedly. Then he added, Dad, how about this? We can't shortchange him, but the gun and dogs are mine, and the split will be 80-20. You can discuss this with Uncle Yu. And at most it'll be 70-30. If it doesn't work out, then we'll have to make some arrangements. Let's lay our cards on the table first and clarify the division of things to avoid any future misunderstandings or imbalances in our hearts. After all, I asked him to team up with me on short notice mainly because I was thinking that the big guy from his family would know to stick with me in the future. Dad nodded. That's right. Since we're teaming up, we should set the conditions first to avoid any awkwardness later on, which could lead to an unpleasant situation. What is fair. All right, I'll talk to your Uncle Yu about this matter this afternoon. After chatting a bit more, Dad took the mule cart back home. Just as he left, we heard a clattering sound. A 2/8 bike rode into the yard. Dimao, dressed in a police uniform on top and black pants below, wearing red and white patterned rubber-soled tennis shoes, rode in like that. He still had his stylish little crew cut. This time he even used mousse. On the back seat of the bike, there was a long, small box tied up. Seeing this box, Dong felt secretly delighted. This is the box used by Mao's dad to store the 56 semi-automatic rifle. He really got the 56 semi from his dad. Just now, when Uncle Air came into the yard, I saw him from afar and didn't dare to come in, afraid he would find out I lent the 56 semi to you. And if that got back to my dad, I'd definitely get scolded, Mao said, propping one foot on the ground, then raised his eyebrows and adjusted his styled hair. So, how about it? I borrowed the gun for you. I told my dad I want to practice shooting for half a month, and after half a month, you have to return the gun to me in one piece. Dong nodded repeatedly, smiling. I guarantee it will be in perfect condition when I give it back to you. Good job, Mao, you really came through on this. My wife made wild onion and pork big buns today. Let us hurry and eat a few. The 56 semi is borrowed. A few hunting dogs are also ready. Now we just need to adjust a bit. We also have partners to go into the mountains. He can go into the old forest to hunt. Of course, he still needs a few days to adjust before going. He also can't go far these next few days because he's waiting for Zhou Honglian to come over. Besides borrowing the 56 semi, Mao also shamelessly got 200 rounds of 762 bullets from his brother, saying it was for practicing shooting. This 56 semi comes with 3 magazines, each with 10 bullets. Mao left with a few wild onion pork buns. After he left, Su Yun asked Dong about the situation with Zhou Honglian. When he mentioned it, Dong thought about the matter with Zhou Honglian. Wife, are you tired? Why don't we go back and rest for a while? Dong quietly said, holding Su Yun's hand. When they entered the bedroom and Su Yun heard Dong's request, her face turned slightly red. Sister, let me tell you a funny thing. Zhou Lanxin pushed the door and walked into the room. However, the scene before her made her freeze. Chapter 33, Stick with your brother. And next year he'll find a wife for you. Zhou Lanxin screamed and left, making the two feel very awkward. Su Yun buried her head in the quilt, her tone a bit resentful. It's all your fault. Dong was also quite embarrassed, scratching his head. Sweat. In response, Su Yun threw a pine cone shell pillow at him. However, Dong skillfully dodged and grabbed the pillow. In the afternoon, while he was training the 5 newly bought dogs in the yard, Dad returned, followed by a tall man about 1.9 meters tall, with a round face and a tiger-like demeanor. This tall man was Air Zhuzi, the child adopted by Uncle Yu. Dong was curious how this simpleton, Air Zhuzi, grew so big in this era. He was quite familiar with Air Zhuzi. When they were young, Dong often played with him. Laoshu and Uncle Yu were old partners, and Uncle Yu was also his lifesaver, so the two families had a good relationship. However, as Dong grew up, he rarely played with Air Zhuzi, mainly because there was a 7 to 8 year age gap. The age gap was too large, just like in life. Older kids don't want to play with younger ones because they find them annoying. Xiao Wu, your Uncle Yu agreed to what you said. Let Air Zhuzi take the 2 big guys and go into the mountains with you a few times. Let the 2 big guys get familiar with you. As for the division, an 80 to 20 split is fine, and he also said that if the prey exceeds 500 pounds, then he'll only take 10%. In the future, let him work hard on farming. I told your Uncle Yu that I'll treat Air Zhuzi like my own child, Dad said, knowing Uncle Yu's thoughts. Wanting to find someone to help Air Zhuzi. It didn't really matter whether Air Zhuzi hunted or not. It was just that men are too shy to say it directly. Air Zhuzi, from now on, just team up with your 5th brother and go into the mountains a few times. After that, focus on farming. Do you remember what your dad told you? Laoshu said to Air Zhuzi. Air Zhuzi quickly nodded, looking a bit simple-minded as he said, Uncle Air, my dad said that when I go into the mountains with 5th brother, I should listen to him, talk less, and pay more attention. My dad also said that when it comes to finding a wife, he's counting on 5th brother. 5th brother. My dad also said that even if you hit me or scold me in the future, I can't get angry. If anyone gives you trouble, let me beat them up. While hunting, I'll stay by your side to protect you. Even if something happens to me, I can't let anything happen to you. The simple-minded Air Zhuzi stammered as he spoke a lot, sweating profusely. It's rare for someone with his simple mind to remember so much. A burst of laughter came from the room. Looking over, the person who laughed was Zhou Lanxin. Dong smiled at her, and Zhou Lanxin's face turned red, and she shrank back into the room, continuing to pick wild vegetables from the basket with Su Yun. The fields had just been planted with corn, so there wasn't too much work to do in the fields these days. The 2 sisters went into the nearby mountains with some women from the village to gather wild goods in the morning. They would sell them at the market later. Of course, they could also sell fresh wild vegetables, but they wouldn't fetch much in the local market since there were so many people gathering them. This girl hasn't spoken to me all afternoon. Her face is so thin. Chen Dong couldn't help but smile to himself. Chen Dong patted Zhuzi's shoulder and said with a smile, "All right, Zhuzi, you can follow me into the mountains a few times. When hunting, if there's meat, you won't miss out on it. Once you farm well in the future, if I get rich, I'll continue to take you along. Stick with your brother well. And next year I'll find a wife for you." "Haha, I'll find a wife for you then." Zhuzi nodded foolishly, smiling. "Okay, fifth brother, hee." After hearing Chen Dong say this, Chen Laoshu immediately put on a serious face and said in a low voice, "You little rascal, what nonsense are you talking? What do you mean finding another wife? What if Xiao Yun hears it and gets upset? She is still pregnant. Women tend to overthink when they are pregnant." Chen Dong quickly nodded. "Dad, I just slipped my tongue. I got it. I understand. I want to talk nonsense in the future." He really wanted to tell Dad, "Dad, my wife actively found me a woman. Can you believe that?" Chen Dong brought a few wild onion pork buns to Zhuzi. "Zhuzi, here. These are pork buns made by your sister-in-law. They're still warm from the pot. Have a few and taste them." Zhuzi opened his big mouth, and half a bun went into his mouth in one bite, munching away, saying with a silly grin, "Sister-in-law's buns are really delicious, hee hee." Chen Dong felt an impulse to never let Zhuzi into his house again. Is this guy pretending to be simple with me? "Sister, has my brother-in-law been bullying you?" Zhou Lanxin, who had been holding this question in all afternoon, asked Su Yun in a low voice, her face flushed. She was the kind of person who couldn't keep things to herself. This matter had troubled her for an entire afternoon, and it was driving her crazy. After Chen Dong left with the 5 newly bought dogs, following De Huang and San Go, and carrying an iron rod, Zhou Lanxin finally couldn't hold back and asked Su Yun this question. Chapter 34. "Sister, has my brother-in-law been bullying you?" Su Yun, who had been seriously picking out hazelnuts, was momentarily stunned upon hearing Zhou Lanxin's question, and her face instantly turned bright red. "You girl, hurry up and pick mushrooms," Su Yun said with a flushed face and an unnatural smile. Zhou Lanxin, her small face slightly reddening, said, "Sister, I'm not a child anymore. Is my brother-in-law bullying you?" Bang! In the mountains a few miles east of the village, Chen Dong was holding a Type 56 rifle, firing 3 magazines in quick succession, with a rather dismal hit rate. Out of 30 bullets, his hit rate on a target 100 meters away was less than 10. This hit rate made Chen Dong's face darken. Although the target he was shooting at was somewhat small, a pine tree with a diameter of less than 50 centimeters, on which he had drawn a circle and aimed for a fixed point. If he faced a similarly sized moving target 100 meters away, the hit probability would be even lower, as the prey would be moving, even if the prey was initially resting or eating. If he didn't hit it with the first shot, it would be much harder to hit it with the second shot, as once the gun fired and the target wasn't hit, it would certainly run away immediately. The first shot is crucial. Of course, if the prey was in an open area and in large numbers, hitting moving targets would be even more challenging. Chen Dong had practiced with a double-barreled shotgun since he was young and didn't have very strict requirements for shooting accuracy, as long as it was within a general range. After all, the double-barreled shotgun fired pellets. Now he was using the Type 56 rifle, which fired bullets that demanded precision. Moreover, each gun had slight differences in trajectory, and accuracy needed to be established through practice with the bullets. There's no way to just pick up an unfamiliar gun and have high shooting accuracy right away. Even skilled marksmen need to fire a dozen or 20 rounds to find the gun's sights. The Type 56 requires higher shooting precision. I need to get familiar with it. I need to practice shooting, but 200 bullets might not be enough. Tomorrow I'll ask some of the older hunters in the village if they have 762 bullets. If not, I'll have to ask in other villages. If it really comes to it, I'll go to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy some bullets. A few years ago, their cooperative sold various types of bullets. But in the last couple of years, the government has started to restrict that. Generally, you can't buy bullets at the cooperative, but you can at the forestry supply and marketing cooperative. In fact, hunters registered with the Forestry Service can purchase guns. Hunters registered with the Forestry Service are allowed to hunt, but they need to share a portion of their catch with the Forestry Department if they hunt large animals. As for small game, that's not a problem. The old forest is within the forestry area. To be precise, even if it's a primeval forest, it's still part of the state-owned forestry range. Decades ago, the Japanese heavily logged the northeastern forests, leading to the felling of many trees on the outskirts. After the founding of the country, Forest management wasn't strict, and mountain villagers also cut down trees extensively. Later, the government began to manage the forests, and the forests that had originally lost trees have started to become dense with trees again over the past 20 to 30 years. Should I go hunting in the state-owned forestry area? Shindong was considering this. In the Red Star Forestry Division, there is also a large area for free hunting, but it requires a longer detour. This is also to provide a place for nearby villagers to hunt freely. You three guys, are you showing off in front of Datu and the others? Shindong watched as Dahei brought back a big wild rabbit. After taking the rabbit, he patted its head and smiled. These three guys were playing a game of dogfight in front of Datu's 5 dogs, catching 5 big wild rabbits in succession. As for Shindong's harvest with the gun, still 0. He mainly practiced shooting while walking, not seriously intending to hunt. The gunshots startled many small animals in the forest, and Shindong didn't want to leave the forest empty-handed, so he ordered the 3 dogs to try to catch some prey. The 3 dogs actually did quite well, catching 5 big wild rabbits in just a short time. He couldn't help but marvel again at how a good hunting dog is a huge help to a hunter. Zhuzi, come here, tie up this rabbit. When we go back tonight, take one home for you and your dad to have a good meal, Shindong said, handing the struggling rabbit to Zhuzi by its ear. Good. After receiving the rabbit, Zhuzi tied it securely and hung the straight rabbit on a rope bag he was carrying. The bag already had 5 tied-up rabbits, which couldn't move and could only stare wide-eyed. Zhuzi also carried a steel rod about 1.5 meters long, the thickness of a baby's arm. This steel rod weighed over 30 pounds and felt like a wooden stick in Zhuzi's hand. He certainly had a bit of talent in terms of strength. Shindong had him strike a rock the size of a cow's head with all his might to see the power. He swung the rod down hard, shattering the rock into pieces. This made Shindong exclaim, 666. With a full force swing of that iron rod, even a cannonball's shell wouldn't be able to withstand it. This steel rod could also be unscrewed in the middle, allowing one end to be fitted with a knife handle with internal threads. It was very convenient for clearing bushes in front of him or chopping wood. If a blow landed on a wild boar's forehead, it would probably die without much trouble. If it weren't for wanting to keep the secret of the spiritual spring space, Shindong would really want Zhuzi to be his hunting partner. But thinking about it, it's better to let it go. With the spiritual spring space, he is more suited to being a lone wolf. Also, he can't always rely on hunting. For now, he is hunting to make a living while accumulating some startup funds until the country allows individual businesses. Even with the help of the spiritual spring space, hunting still carries a significant risk. He can't always face that risk while hunting. The 2 big reindeer that Zhuzi brought would be the tools for him to hunt deep in the mountains in the future. The bigger one was called Dolly, and the smaller one was called Xiaoli. Woof, woof, woof. The 5 dogs being led by Zhuzi were excitedly pulling on their leashes when they saw Dahei and Dahuang catching rabbits, eager to join in the rabbit chase. However, Shindong didn't let them go, making them whine and bark anxiously. Letting them go? Not yet. On one hand, he wasn't familiar with them yet. After a few days of feeding, once they were familiar with him, they would know to come back when they ran out. Otherwise, if the dogs he bought ran away, who would he cry to? Besides building a bond with them, Shindong also had to give them spiritual spring water every day. However, unlike the 3 dogs that got 1 drop each daily, he planned to mix 1 drop of spiritual spring water in their water for the 5 dogs to share. He needed to establish the primary position for Dahei and the other 3, keeping them stronger than the others. He wanted them to submit to Dahuang. So when the time came, he could have Dahuang, the experienced hunting dog king, instruct them on how to surround and fight. He naturally favored the big yellow dog among the 3. After all, they were the dogs that had grown up with him. On the other hand, he was deliberately trying to provoke their hunting instincts. For hunting dogs, chasing small animals was as addictive as fishing for an angler. The big dog was named Daitu, a hunting dog with wolf blood. The other 4 hunting dogs were also given names by Shindong: a Da, a Air, a San, and a Sea. Henchman dogs didn't deserve proper names. While talking, the big yellow dog came back from the bushes, proudly shaking its tail while carrying a wild rabbit. 5th brother, your dog is great, Air Zhuzi said with a thumbs up, smiling at Shindong. Shindong corrected Air Zhuzi. It's not that my dog is great, you should say. My dog is a good dog. Sweat. Air Zhuzi's words made it sound like he was the dog himself. Let's wrap it up and go home, Shindong said. Sister Honglian probably won't come just as I stepped out, right? Before Shindong went out, he told Su Yun that he would only be gone for an hour or so, and if Sister Honglian came, to let her wait. However, he couldn't possibly wait at home all the time. Soon, they returned to the village. And Qindong asked Erjuzi to carry the two rabbits home so they could have a meat meal. Erjuzi didn't understand numbers or how hunting was divided. Anyway, his father told him that whatever Qindong gave him was fine. After Qindong brought a pack of dogs home, Suyun approached him with a frown and told him something that instantly put him in a bad mood. Chapter 35. The 5 dogs acknowledge their master. Big Yellow can be translated. Third Aunt said that when she passed by Jiang Jiagu, she heard that Dr. Lu from the town went to see Jiang Dapeng in the afternoon. It seemed that his condition had suddenly worsened, and he was twitching for a long time. Sister Honglian probably won't be able to come these days. Suyun sighed with a worried expression. Qindong shook his head with a dark face. It doesn't matter what happens, Sister Honglian is a bit pitiful. TSK. Jiang Dapeng would be better off dead. Anyway, he'll die in a few months, right when winter starts. In his previous life, Jiang Dapeng died in winter that year. So, under normal circumstances, he wouldn't die anytime soon. However, if Jiang Dapeng's health is poor these days, and he goes to find Zhou Honglian, that would be somewhat beastly. Tomorrow morning, let's bring some things and go see him, Qindong said. Suyun nodded. Okay. Qindong held her in his arms and said, let's sleep. Suyun, nestled in his arms, had already fallen asleep. Qindong focused his thoughts and entered the spiritual spring space. Looking at the 4 wild boars lying in a state of just dying in the spiritual spring space. This was a secret unique to Qindong regarding the spiritual spring space and his rebirth, something he could never tell anyone. This is also why he only temporarily brought Erjuzi a few times. Even though Erjuzi was a bit slow, he didn't want him to notice certain things. To ensure that Uncle Yu's 2 large dogs would obediently follow him into the mountains, it was necessary for Erjuzi, the little master, to familiarize them a few times. Once the big dogs got used to him, it would be easier for him to take them out. After all, the big dogs were just tools for hunting and transporting prey in the future. Hey, how come there are 3 more light spots on the colorful jade plate that appeared in the spiritual spring space? Seeing the 3 light spots gathered above the spiritual spring water on the colorful jade plate surprised Qindong a bit. His consciousness wanted to manipulate the colorful jade plate. However, the colorful jade plate was ethereal, making it impossible for his consciousness to touch it. With a thought, his consciousness touched one of the light spots. In the next moment, a flood of information about marksmanship surged into his mind. The abundant information about marksmanship made him feel as if he had naturally gained a deep understanding of it, as if he had become a marksmanship expert. What the hell is this? Did the light group that came from the spiritual spring space turn me into a marksmanship expert? No way. Qindong was surprised, mixed with some joy. He had been quite dissatisfied with his marksmanship, planning to practice for a few days to improve. Unexpectedly, this gave him a high level of marksmanship skills. Isn't this having a pillow delivered when you're sleepy? Every month, the spiritual spring space refreshes skills or special items that are helpful to me according to my needs. After integrating this light group about marksmanship, he also gained information about refreshing light groups in his mind. This spiritual spring space is somewhat like a system from some novels. Whatever, my rebirth is a fantastical thing. So who cares what the spiritual spring space is? Qindong focused on not having internal conflicts. With a thought, he touched another light ball. In the next moment, a semi-transparent item that resembled a Taoist talisman floated in the spiritual spring space. Blood-burning talisman. Information about this talisman-like item popped into his mind. After using the blood-burning talisman, it can greatly enhance all bodily functions for a short period. However, after the effect ends, the body will fall into a state of extreme weakness for a certain period. The blood-burning talisman is equivalent to a last-ditch effort, providing a means of survival in life-threatening situations. This thing is good, very good. Then Qindong touched another light ball. Immediately, the light ball disappeared. A semi-transparent talisman appeared in the spiritual spring space. Hunting Dog Enlightenment Talisman. Using the Hunting Dog Enlightenment Talisman can elevate the intelligence of hunting dogs to a certain extent. If I use this Enlightenment Talisman on Big Yellow, won't it make it easier for him to understand what I want to express when I command him? If Big Yellow's intelligence is enhanced, I can have him subdue Daitu and the other 4 dogs, letting them acknowledge me as their master and obey my commands. Which means I won't have to strain myself training them. If Daitu and the others can recognize me as their master and follow my commands within a day or 2, doesn't that mean I can go into the mountains again soon? Thinking of this, Qindong got up and walked out of the room to the yard, where Big Yellow, Dake, and the 3 dogs surrounded him. In the grass shed in the yard, Daitu and the other 4 dogs were tied up. Some stood up while others lay in the straw, appearing quite indifferent. With a thought, Chundong produced the hunting dog enlightenment talisman in his hand. Outsiders couldn't see the talisman he held. Following the usage method of the enlightenment talisman, he placed it on Big Yellow's head, and as he infused his consciousness, the talisman transformed into countless small light spots that fell onto Big Yellow. Big Yellow didn't feel anything. Instead, it affectionately rubbed its head against Chundong's hand. Big Yellow, go and take them down, make them your little brothers, so they will loyally follow me in the future. Tell them that if they don't follow me well, I'll make hot pot out of them. Chundong patted Big Yellow's head with one hand, while pointing at Daitu and the other 4 dogs in the grass shed with the other hand. Big Yellow slightly opened its mouth and made a sound as if it understood Chundong's words, then quickly dashed toward the other 5 dogs in the grass shed. With a leap, it jumped in front of Daitu, pressing its front paws on Daito's body, pinning it to the ground, and immediately bit down on its neck. Ow, 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 ow. The big head, pinned to the ground, bit down on the neck and let out a miserable howl, with large tears streaming down its huge dog eyes, looking extremely wronged. Next, Dahuang brutally beat each of the 5 dogs, barking at them with a wong, wong, wong sound. The 5 dogs lay on the ground throughout, trembling and whimpering softly. A few minutes later, Dahuang puffed out its chest, raised its butt high, and wagged its tail as it ran over to Chundong, nudging his calf with its head and squatting down, looking up at Chundong with dog-like adoration, making sounds. Is this how they were tamed? Do these 5 dogs now recognize me as their master? Chundong was puzzled. However, he still walked over to the 5 dogs with Dahuang and the other 3 dogs and unhooked the chains from their necks. Big head, you 5 come here. Chundong waved at the 5 dogs. Woo woo woo. Dahuang, squatting aside, let out a low growl, baring its teeth at the 5 dogs. Upon seeing the ropes untied, the 5 dogs crawled over to Chundong while half lying on the ground, wagging their tails and looking up at him with adoring dog eyes. Chundong was delighted. The products from the space are indeed top quality. Dahuang's intelligence has clearly improved a lot. It really can become a dog translator. Chapter 36. Brother-in-law, you are so silly. Don't fight over it. Be honest and drink water. Is such a large basin of water not enough for you? After feeding Dahuang and the other 3 dogs each a drop of spiritual spring water, Chundong dropped another drop into a large basin for the 5 dogs to drink. Seeing them actually fighting to drink, Chundong immediately said, Woo, woo, woo. Dahuang, squatting beside, let out a low growl. The 5 dogs, who were originally fighting for water, suddenly quieted down and obediently began to drink. They knew there was something good in that water. After they finished drinking, Chundong took the wild boar skin he had peeled from the spiritual spring space, cut it into small strips, and tossed them to the dogs. With Dahuang as the dog translator, they all ate the wild boar skin in an orderly manner. At that time, Chundong had hurriedly peeled the skin to avoid being seen, so there was still quite a bit of meat left on it. Although there were pig hairs, they still found it very tasty. They are hunting dogs and can eat raw food directly. In this era, dogs are not so precious. They eat whatever is given, and they are quite tough. Soon, more than 10 pounds of pig skin were all in the bellies of the 8 dogs. Dahuang and the other 3 dogs were fed a bit more. After washing his hands, Chundong planned to go back to sleep, intending to drop 2 drops of spiritual spring water into the well next to his father's house early the next morning. He wanted to see what changes the 2 drops of diluted spiritual spring water would bring to their bodies before using it on Suyun later. Of course, he also hoped that his parents would be healthy and live a long life. With such a filial son as him, they would surely live 100 years. Chundong was moved by his own filial piety. Brother-in-law, why are you not asleep so late? Just as he walked into the main room, Zhou Lanxin, dressed in red autumn clothes, came out from a side room, rubbing her somewhat messy long hair, looking sleepy, and spoke with a slightly hoarse voice. Chundong smiled. I suddenly couldn't sleep, so I came out to feed the dogs. Why are you thinking about feeding dogs so late? Zhou Lanxin mumbled. Then with a serious little face, she softly said, Brother-in-law, can you not bully my sister anymore? Chundong shook his head. How could I bully her? I care for her even more. Zhou Lanxin blushed angrily and said softly, during the day. Hearing Zhou Lanxin say this, Chundong felt awkward and quickly covered her mouth, saying, Lanxin, don't say that anymore. She even tried to push his hand away. Chundong released her mouth, took her outside, and lowered his voice. Let's talk outside. Just don't let your sister hear. He felt it was necessary to explain things clearly to Zhou Lanxin. Otherwise, she might think he was bullying Su Yun. After experiencing so much in his previous life, he could read people quite accurately. Zhou Lanxin was definitely the type who couldn't keep things to herself and would ask until the end. If he didn't explain it to her clearly, she would probably chase after him asking questions and think of more nonsense. If she went to find Su Yun to talk about these things, it wouldn't matter. But if she talked about it with the other women in the village who often went out to gather wild vegetables with her, it would be quite embarrassing. After being pulled out of the house by Chen Dong, once they opened the door and stepped out of the yard, Chen Dong frowned and said to Zhou Lanxin, "Lanxin, how could I possibly bully your sister?" His scalp was feeling quite numb. Chen Dong didn't want to explain any further. She was a blank slate. How could he explain? It was completely unexplainable. "Brother-in-law, my sister is pregnant with your child, so you can't bully her anymore. If you really get angry, you can hit me. Scold me a few times, or even bully me. It's okay," Zhou Lanxin said softly. Chen Dong shook his head and smiled, reaching out to ruffle her hair. "Sengyu, just stop overthinking. I won't bully your sister, and I won't bully you either. The days ahead are long. I will make sure you all have enough to eat and live better step by step. You should hurry and sleep." After saying that, he turned and went back inside. Watching Chen Dong's back, the girl under the moonlight had glimmering eyes and murmured, "Brother-in-law, you are so silly." In the morning, Chen Dong strolled around the small courtyard where his parents lived on the hillside, chatted briefly with his father, who was outside sifting through cow dung, and inquired about when his mother would return from visiting his second sister's family. Then, he wandered over to an old stone well nearby. The rope at the well's well had worn a deep pit, and the thick rope was covered in white fibers. The stones around the well's opening were covered in moss. There were several wells like this in the village, all dug by ancestors, but now almost every household had machine-drilled wells, which used pressurized water to draw water. Very few people used the water from the wells anymore. Only his parents used the water from this well. He dropped 2 drops of spiritual spring water into the well, intending to see the effect of the diluted spiritual spring water on his parents. After that, he would use it on Su Yun. It should be fine. He hoped that after drinking the spiritual spring water, his parents would live a long life. Around 8 in the morning, Chen Dong, along with Su Yun and Zhou Lanxin, brought some things to Zhou Honglian's house. Upon seeing Jiang Dapeng lying on the bed, panting heavily, Chen Dong chatted with him briefly, and regarding Zhou Honglian. He did not mention their matter again. They would talk about it when Jiang Dapeng stabilized in a couple of days. Soon, he returned home, bringing along some food prepared by Su Yun, carrying a .56 rifle on his back, holding a double-barrel shotgun in his hand, letting Erjuzi help him carry a machete and 3 throwing spears. He was followed by 8 dogs and leading 2 large reindeer as they set off. He told Su Yun that he planned to go deeper into the mountains today and that they shouldn't wait for him to come back for dinner, as he might be very late if he returned. Alternatively, if he stayed overnight in the mountains, he would have He come back to send a message. Plans often change. The changes in the spiritual spring space allowed him to advance his plans for hunting in the old forest ahead of schedule. Chapter 37. Even if you die, I won't. Life is not a TV drama. Every day is a live broadcast. The spiritual spring space refreshes once a month, allowing him to gain some skills or special items. This made Chen Dong's shooting skills and training of hunting dogs directly improve significantly. Adding that if Jiang Dapeng hadn't fallen ill yesterday, Chen Dong would definitely be at home waiting for Zhou Honglian, ready to put on an exciting and passionate performance with her. And with the sudden addition of Erjuzi as a strong helper and meat shield, it was better to crash into the day than to hesitate. Today, they would head into the mountains. Good luck and prosperity. Tonight, they would eat chicken. As someone who had been reborn from decades later to this era, safety awareness was naturally very important. Heaven had given him a second chance to live well, not to fight desperately. Even if he initially relied on hunting to make money, he wouldn't go to the extent of risking his life for a little money. Therefore, to go hunting in the mountains, he had made almost all the necessary preparations, rather than rushing in impulsively. He had a pair of double-barreled guns, with over 100 rounds of shotgun shells and 7.62mm bullets. The cowhorn recurve bow that his father maintained on the wall was also strung and slung over his shoulder, with 20 arrows in the quiver on his back. Compared to playing with guns, Chen Dong's archery skills were much higher. Of course, with the shooting skills he gained from the spiritual spring space, his marksmanship had improved significantly. In addition, he had prepared plenty of food and drink, corn cakes, wild chicken meat, wild rabbit jerky, pickles, and even toilet paper. He packed a machete, throwing spears, a dagger, several boxes of matches, and kerosene for starting fires. He also had ropes for tying up prey and, if they caught a lot, ropes for making a sled to let the 2 reindeer and the dog bring the prey back. Everything was stuffed into a canvas backpack and then stored in the spiritual spring space. A relatively light canvas backpack was strapped onto a reindeer named Dolly, pretending to carry things inside, so that Herr Juicy wouldn't move around recklessly. If he wanted something, he could take it out himself. Herr Juicy obediently nodded, promising not to move around. If it weren't for the existence of the spiritual spring space, he would have to be a lone wolf. However, having Herr Juicy as a partner felt pretty good. Why do I feel a sense of cold winds and desolation? Looking back at Su Yun and Zhou Lanxin waving at the door, Chen Dong couldn't help but self-deprecate. He then hummed, waiting for the moment his beloved returned. Tears singing for you. This feeling seems a bit off. Fifth brother, you sing so well, even better than Aunt Ho-Hot. Herr Juicy scratched his head and laughed. Chen Dong's mouth curled into a slight smile, proudly saying, of course. Looking at Herr Juicy, who was nearly 2 meters tall, carrying a 30-kilogram steel rod, with 3 throwing spears on his back and a machete at his waist, Chen Dong felt an indescribable sense of security. Aunt Ho-Hot was a widow in the village, about 60 years old. In her youth, she sang in brothels, later got married to a man from the village after the liberation, but he died of illness, leaving her to raise 3 children. A few years ago, during the collective meals, Aunt Ho-Hot was a key player in the village's cultural activities. Juicy, how did your dad prepare the 2 rabbits you brought back yesterday? Chen Dong asked with a smile. Herr Juicy thought for a moment, a bit slow on the uptake, and said, my dad stewed the 2 rabbits with spices. The rabbit legs are really delicious. I ate 4 big rabbit legs. His eyes sparkled at the mention of rabbit legs. Chen Dong patted his shoulder and said, Juicy, next time you stew rabbits, you have to let your dad have the big rabbit legs first. But my dad said he doesn't eat big rabbit legs, so he gave them all to me. Herr Juicy replied innocently. Chen Dong laughed. Next time, just insist he eats it. Tell him, Dad, this is my filial piety to you. What if my dad doesn't eat it? Herr Juicy scratched his head and asked. Chen Dong chuckled. If he doesn't eat it, just feed it to him, and he'll eat it. All right, I'll listen to fifth brother. Next time, I'll feed the big rabbit legs to my dad. Herr Juicy nodded. Passing by a yard at the eastern end of the village, many villagers gathered around a large millstone. Upon seeing Chen Dong and Herr Juicy with the dog and reindeer, guns and rods in tow, they immediately started speaking. Xiao Wu, are you and Herr Juicy going into the old forest to hunt? An older man asked. Chen Dong nodded. Yes, fourth uncle, we're heading into the old forest today. Xiao Wu, your luck in hunting has been good lately. You must be able to catch big game. I'll buy some meat from you when you do. A woman in her 40s laughed. Chen Dong smiled and said, thank you for the good wishes, third sister Chung. If I catch big game and the villagers want to buy meat from me, I'll definitely give a discount. Xiao Wu, your wife is pregnant. You're getting more capable now, knowing how to work hard. Unlike before when you used to hang around with Air Meow and the others, another woman laughed. Chen Dong nodded with a smile. Big granny. That was in the past. Now I have to think of ways to earn money and take good care of my wife. Xiao Wu, I'm thinking of hunting too. Can you take me along? I have a shotgun. A man in his late 20s with a sharp face and a little mustache laughed and asked. Chen Dong shook his head. Chingu, it's better if you don't come hunting with me. Hunting isn't that easy. Just let my second uncle help you find a stable job. This guy named Chen Dongsheng was the village chief's nephew, Chen Xingue. He often got into trouble drinking, fighting, stealing chickens, and beating his wife. Chen Dong and his friends didn't get along with him. In fact, Chen Dong felt a bit irritated by him. Last year, when he was on a blind date with Su Yun, Chen Dongsheng also took a fancy to her and wanted Chen Dong to give her up. How could anyone give up on marrying? Later, Chen Dongsheng married a widow named Zhou Xianglan from a neighboring village. A couple of years ago, when Chen Dong was earning work points in the production team and eating communal meals, he got to know Zhou Xianglan. He was somewhat infatuated with her. And after chatting for a while, he told his parents he wanted to marry her, but they scolded him. Even his older brothers and sisters came to persuade him. In the end, the matter fell through. After marrying Zhou Xianglan, Chen Dongsheng often beat her, and Chen Dong heard that sometimes when he beat her, he would curse her for having had a fling with Chen Dong before. This naturally upset Chen Dong, but in those times and customs, he didn't dare to explain anything. If he did, it would just give others an excuse, as if they really had a fling. What is up, Xiao Wu? You can take Herr Juicy, this silly guy, hunting, but you can't take me? I'm definitely better than Air Juzi. Chen Dongqing mocked with a grin. Chen Dong retorted, Chenggu, how is Air Juzi silly? No matter what, I want to take him along, not you. You bastard. You should at least consider the master when you beat a dog. Air Juzi is with me now. After firing back at Chen Dongqing, Chen Dong directly headed towards the mountain. Chen Dongqing, who had been retorted, muttered unhappily, going into the old forest to hunt. 90 out of 100 hunts fail. When you get into trouble, your wife will be a widow. I'll help her out. And then I'll sleep with your wife and beat your child. Just as he was saying this, Chen Dong, who had walked a few steps away, turned around and quickly rushed in front of him without saying a word, delivering a heavy slap to his face. Slap. Then he quickly followed with another slap to the other side of his face. Damn you. Even if you die, I won't die. Damn you. After slapping Chen Dongqing twice, Chen Dong cursed angrily. Chapter 38. Entering the mountains, encountering a herd of roe deer. Chen Dong was furious. Damn it. He intended to go into the old forest to hunt, but this bastard Chen Dongqing was cursing him. He even dragged Su Yun and the child into it. How could Chen Dong endure this? He had to teach him a lesson. After being slapped twice by Chen Dongqing was stunned. Once he came to his senses, he covered his stinging face and glared at Chen Dong. How dare you hit me? Do you believe I'll kill you? Whoever messes with my fifth brother, I'll kill them. Just as Chen Dongqing finished speaking, a thunderous shout came from not far away, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps, as if a young calf was charging over. Xiao Wu, let us talk it out. Let us talk it out. Xiao Wu, quickly hold back Air Juzi. Dongqing, what are you saying? The people around hurriedly pulled Chen Dong and Chen Dongqing apart, while Chen Dong managed to hold back the furious Air Juzi. In the end, an elder criticized Chen Dongqing for his inappropriate words, and also criticized Chen Dong for hitting someone, acting as a mediator. Chen Dongqing left with a harsh remark, telling Chen Dong to wait. Chen Dong replied, sure, I'll wait. Then he didn't bother to say more and dragged Air Juzi away. Damn it. I want to see what you'll do to me. Don't provoke me, or else I'll take your life in the dark and throw your body into the spiritual spring space. Then chop you into pieces and feed you to the beasts in the mountains. Chen Dong thought angrily. In his previous life, he started his business in this era, later went to the port city to engage in the clothing business, and had experienced a lot in both the legal and illegal realms. He had made many connections and even witnessed murders. He had even planned for contract killings. In the 80s and 90s, very few people in business, especially those who had operated in the port city, had clean hands. With the existence of the spiritual spring space, plus the lack of surveillance in this era and the police's less meticulous case handling, Chen Dong was truly capable of killing a few people if he set his heart to it. Air Juzi, in the future when I tell you to hit, you hit. How to hit? You listen to me, whether with fists or weapons, depends on the situation, Chen Dong said to Air Juzi as they walked. Just now, Air Juzi had charged in like a mad calf, but thanks to the tempering of the spiritual spring water, Chen Dong had enough strength to hold him back. If he hadn't, those old men and women on site probably wouldn't have been able to restrain Air Juzi. Sure, I'll listen to Fifth Brother. Air Juzi nodded. Fifth Brother, you fought for me and Chun. Whatever you say for me to do in the future, I'll do it. Chen Dong smiled. This fool probably thought he slapped Chen Dongqing because he was mocked as a fool. No need to explain. Let him think what he wants. The two left the village, following a winding mountain path towards a place called Pao Ma Pu, which was about 20 miles from their village. The mountain road was rugged and difficult to traverse. Even if they quickened their pace, it took them 3 to 4 hours to arrive. Pao Ma Pu was one of the few places in the nearby mountains where wild animals gathered, and within a radius of 20 to 30 miles. It was an area for free hunting by the mountain folks. Of course, the goal was to reach Pao Ma Pu and then hunt in 2 nearby river valley meadows. If they encountered a slightly larger group of prey or large game on the way, they would hunt on the spot. The target point was just a target point. Plans could change. They would hunt and walk along the way. According to their plan, they could return to the village by 7 or 8 in the evening. However, if there were any changes, it was also possible they would have to spend the night in the mountains. The big yellow and black dogs walked and stopped, marking their territory by urinating on the roadside. The 5 new hunting dogs following Chen Dong were very excited, bouncing around and playing around Chen Dong and Air Juzi. The 2 reindeer led by Air Juzi had just shed their antlers in winter and now only had small fuzzy antlers on their heads. They calmly chewed their cud and followed the 2 men. The old deer knows the way. They were both 7 or 8 years old, previously accompanying them into the mountains to hunt and carry prey. Reindeer are quite large. These two stood about 1 meter 2 to 3 at the shoulder. And when they raised their heads and stretched their necks, they could reach about 1 meter 6 to 7, nearly the height of a person. Each of these two reindeer weighed around 300 to 400 pounds. It was no problem to saddle them and ride through the mountains for a while. Pulling a sled of 1,000 or 2,000 pounds with 2 reindeer and 8 dogs was an easy task. Dongqing, what happened to your face? As soon as Chen Dongqing returned home, his wife Zhou Xianglan looked at his swollen face and asked in confusion. Damn it, how can you ask? It was that bastard Chen Dong who hit me. Chen Dongqing was furious at the mention of this and slapped Zhou Xianglan across the face. Slap. This slap was solid, leaving 3 bright red fingerprints on Zhou Xianglan's small face. Zhou Xianglan, however, stubbornly didn't even grunt and instead said sarcastically, "He hit you. What does that have to do with me? Besides, he is not my lover. I used to want something with him, but he doesn't look at me, huh?" Slap. Chen Dongqing slapped her face again, pointing angrily at her forehead. Damn, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Do you believe I'll sell you off to someone else and make you a whore? Zhou Xianglan's eyes sparkled with tears, but her face still bore a stubborn expression. Go ahead and sell me. I don't care. If you sell me, it might be better than being with you. Bang. Chen Dongqing kicked her leg, knocking her down to the ground. Damn, you're still being stubborn with me, you barren hen. Do you really think I wouldn't dare to sell you and marry a younger wife? I could just leave you at your mother's house. Zhou Xianglan, who had originally allowed Chen Dongqing to hit and scold her, suddenly tensed when she heard him mention her daughter. She stood up abruptly and grabbed Chen Dongqing's arm. Chen Dongqing, you're a beast. You can hit me and scold me, but what does my daughter have to do with you? Besides, if your seed is no good and I can't have children, is that my fault? She knew she would definitely get beaten, but her daughter was her bottom line. Bang, bang, bang. During their stop-and-go journey towards Pao Ma Pu, Chen Dong, who had mastered superb shooting skills, held a Type 56 rifle and fired more than 10 shots in succession. Almost every shot hit. He shot 12 wild chickens, pine chickens, and wild ducks along the way. Plus, with the 8 dogs' help, they caught 15 wild rabbits. Just these prey added up to over 100 pounds, which could sell for a decent amount of money. His shooting skills were excellent. The big yellow and 3 dogs were definitely top-notch hunting dogs. It was reasonable to catch these prey. Zhuzi, are you hungry? When we get to Pao Ma Pu, let us take a break and eat something good, Chen Dong said to Zhuzi, who was red-faced and sweating from the mountain hike. Zhuzi nodded, Just then, a sharp, beastly cry came from the forest ahead. Listening to the sound, it seems to be the voice of a roe deer. De Huang, keep them quiet and follow me. Zhuzi, stay in place with De Li and Xiao Li. Chen Dong quickly whispered to Zhuzi, then patted De Huang's head and spoke softly. Hearing the series of sharp cries from the roe deer, Chen Dong was secretly pleased. They must be encountering a herd of roe deer. Chapter 39. Hunting 2 roe deer. Is Zhuzi the child of luck? On my first day hunting in the old forest, I actually came across a herd of roe deer. As someone whose family has hunted for generations and who has been exposed to knowledge about wild animals since childhood, Chen Dong could basically determine what animal it was just by listening to their calls. The sharp cries were indeed sounds made by roe deer when they were startled. Roe deer meat is delicious, much better than wild boar meat. The key is that roe deer are easy to hunt. Just shout loudly, and they will curiously stop to watch, allowing the hunter to shoot. After witnessing a companion die, the remaining roe deer may be frightened away, but they quickly return out of curiosity to see what happened. They are extremely curious. Therefore, people in the mountains call them silly roe deer. When hunters encounter a herd of roe deer and operate properly, it's quite easy to shoot multiple silly roe deer. However, while you might say that roe deer are silly, they can be very alert when facing other large wild beasts in the mountains. Chen Dong observed the terrain and quickly walked towards a large rock protruding about 20 to 30 meters ahead. This large rock was about 6 or 7 meters high, covered in vines and jagged edges, making it easy to climb. The rock was only surrounded by bushes, with no large trees blocking the line of sight. He wanted to see if he could climb to the top of the rock to observe what was happening in the distance. 8 dogs followed him silently without making a sound. Soon, with thin gloves on, Chen Dong grabbed the vines and stepped on the protruding edges of the rock, carrying 2 guns as he climbed up. He looked into the distance. About 200 to 300 meters away, near the small river in the valley, he saw many bushes shaking, and through the gaps in the shaking bushes, he could see gray-brown deer-like animals weaving in and out. With his body refined by the spiritual spring water, all his functions had greatly improved, including his vision. He could clearly see that these deer-like creatures were none other than silly roe deer. Compared to other deer, silly roe deer are relatively small in size in the northeastern forests. Could it be that wolves, bears, or tigers are hunting them? Otherwise, how could they have run over from the meadow by the river valley? Chun Dong did not immediately raise his gun to shoot, because the sight of these roe deer fleeing in panic through the bushes suggested that something was chasing them. In spring, the lush grass by the river is an ideal feeding ground for herbivorous wild animals, so herds of herbivores often gather there. It is also an ideal hunting ground for carnivorous animals. Of course, Chun Dong happened to encounter a herd of roe deer here, which could only be attributed to the mountain god providing for him. He had come here to hunt with his father before, but they had returned empty-handed, only shooting a few wild ducks before heading back. As his father used to say, even if there might be places where wild animals gather to feed, it is common to return empty-handed 9 times out of 10. Due to various factors, places where wild animals might gather to feed might not see any animals arrive, and the timing of humans reaching there might coincide with the animals leaving. The location is static, but the animals are alive and do not stay in one place for long. If hunting were that easy, wouldn't everyone in the nearby mountain villages be carrying guns into the woods to hunt? Moreover, hunting deep in the mountains is a highly dangerous activity, with many unexpected incidents, and there is also the possibility of encountering fierce wild animal packs. With the older generation of hunters aging and passing away, and the wars against the Japanese and the Civil War taking many hunters into battle, many have died on the battlefield. The number of hunters is decreasing. In Shunlu Tun, with over 100 households and a total population of several hundred, there are only 2 people left who rely on hunting for a living besides Chun Dong. Those 2 are also in their 40s or 50s. Hunting is dangerous, and now the people in the village have been allocated land, and with the emergence of a personal trading economy, many are selling mountain goods in the markets. And even the supply and marketing cooperatives are collecting some mountain products. Farming and gathering mountain goods is more appealing than hunting, right? Additionally, during the years of famine, when production teams were just being formed and everyone struggled to fill their stomachs, the border defense troops, along with local hunters, nearly combed through the entire old forest, killing many wild animals. This allowed many locals to have meat to eat and provided some to domestic government departments, enabling leaders to have a few bites of meat during the hardest times. Now, even though the wild animals in the old forest are much fewer than before, this is the most important reason for the decreasing number of hunters. Holding a 62 model single-tube telescope, he looked towards the bushes. Oh, there are also spotted deer. If I can hunt a few freshly antlered spotted deer, the antlers could weigh 2 to 3 tails. And just one deer's antlers could easily sell for 3 to 400 yuan. Through the single-tube telescope, he discovered several spotted deer among the roe deer herd. Spotted deer, especially the male deer growing antlers in spring, can grow antlers weighing 2 to 3 jing. The purchasing price of antlers at the supply and marketing cooperative is around 1 to 2 taels, with even higher prices at the market. The 62 single-tube telescope he held was a treasured item used by his father for hunting, with a magnification of 8 times and a lens diameter of 30 millimeters. Soon, through the telescope, Chun Dong noticed several large gray wolves in a semicircle pursuing the deer herd. They were driving the deer from the meadow into the bushes. The deer that had originally entered the bushes in an orderly manner suddenly scattered in panic. This was because several large gray wolves had burst out of the bushes. Wolves are surrounding them. Chun Dong couldn't help but gasp. The situation before him made him understand what was happening. This pack of gray wolves was hunting the deer herd. If wild boars are the most troublesome existence for mountain people, then encountering a pack of wolves is something they must fight desperately against. This is because wolf packs have a clear social hierarchy. When hunting their prey, they coordinate in an orderly manner. Prey targeted by a pack of wolves has an 80 to 90% chance of being killed. Even when facing tigers or leopards, wolf packs are unafraid and dare to attack them. Moreover, wolves have a deep sense of revenge when hunters encounter them in the mountains. They dare to secretly track the hunters, attempting to attack when the hunters are unprepared. The wolf pack thinks, "Today I will snatch the prey from you." Even Jesus couldn't stop me. As he watched the deer herd being encircled by the wolves, he saw 2 large male spotted deer with growing antlers approaching within 200 meters of his position, already entering an area where he felt confident in his shooting accuracy. He decisively raised his .56 rifle, aimed at one of the spotted deer, and pulled the trigger. Bang! The sound of the gunshot created a fist-sized blood hole in the front abdomen of the spotted deer. The powerful impact of the 762 bullet created a large blood hole upon entering its body. Then, the spotted deer fell to the ground, its limbs straightening, its body trembling as if it had been electrocuted. The sound of the gunshot made the other spotted deer momentarily stop in its tracks. The next moment, it lifted its legs as if intending to turn back and run. The perception of danger made it aware that there was a greater threat ahead than the wolf pack. However, its reaction was too late. Chendong had already aimed his gun at it and pulled the trigger at the first opportunity. Bang! Another gunshot. The stag with new antlers collapsed to the ground. Chapter 40. A bountiful harvest, earning at least $3,000. After shooting 2 stags with antlers, Chendong aimed his gun at a roe deer with antlers. He stopped searching for the stags. Having already killed 2 stags was quite good. If he only focused on finding more stags, it was likely that the roe deer would have disappeared by then. At this moment, it was like hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. Whatever he could hit was a gain. Bang! A shot fired. Missed. He quickly fired again, hitting its abdomen. The deer fell, kicking its legs and dying. Bang! 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 6 quick shots followed. 2 roe deer and 1 gray wolf were hit. 10 bullets hit 6 targets. This was already a high hit rate. After all, the prey was moving at high speed. A 60 hit rate was already considered a marksmanship expert. With a thought, he produced another magazine in his hand. He quickly replaced it and stood on the rock, aiming his gun. He spotted a roe deer within his high hit probability range. Bang! A rustling came from a bush. Bang! Another blind shot. Bang bang! Bang bang! The magazine emptied again. Dahong, encircle and capture. Chendong shouted to Dahong below the rock. Upon hearing Chendong's command, Dahong barked and then split the 8 dogs into 2 groups, rushing forward. Having received orders from Chendong, Dahong understood what his different commands meant and conveyed his intentions to the other dogs. The encirclement meant that the 8 dogs would attack the prey and kill it one by one. At this point, he did not command them to drive the prey into his area, as the prey was already scattered and fleeing, making it unsuitable for encirclement. Moreover, the area was overgrown with bushes and grass. If the hunting dogs encircled the prey, he could not carelessly fire, fearing injury to the dogs if he missed. He quickly loaded another full magazine and slid down from the rock. Air Juzi, tie Dahong and the others here, and follow me. Chendong shouted to Air Juzi. Okay. Air Juzi quickly nodded after hearing Chendong's words, responded with a grunt, and swiftly tied the reins of 2 reindeer to a nearby tree before striding forward behind Chendong. Chendong's target was multiple pieces of prey, and they were fleeing towards the river valley meadow. They were on a hillside, while the prey was in the valley, running in the opposite direction, which was farther. Chendong, chasing from the hillside, had the chance to see the prey from above. The effective range of the Type 56 semi-automatic rifle was 400 meters, and some marksmanship experts could shoot prey from up to 600 meters. Of course, in the mountains where there were many bushes and trees, spotting prey at 400 or 500 meters was challenging. The prey was fleeing towards the river valley meadow, where there was a large, relatively flat area with very few bushes. The visibility there was excellent, making it easy to spot running prey. Sure enough, after running for more than a minute, Chendong saw many roe deer and gray wolves fleeing across the gentle river valley meadow. Estimating the distance, it looked to be over 400 meters. Holding the Type 56 semi-automatic rifle and aiming through the scope, he estimated the wind speed and calculated the shooting compensation. The wind speed was 4 meters, direction 3 o'clock. Distance about 450 meters, angle 55, left 648. Bang! A gunshot rang out. A gray wolf fell. Compared to the roe deer and stags, gray wolves ran much slower and were easier to hit. Bang! 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 10 bullets were fired in succession. 2 gray wolves and 1 roe deer were killed. At such a distance, a 30 hit rate was also quite good. After firing these 10 shots, Chendong slung the Type 56 semi-automatic rifle on his back, took down the double-barreled shotgun, and headed towards the direction where he had shot the stags. Air Juzi, holding a steel rod, followed Chendong's lead and took down the backpack hanging on the reindeer's back. Woof woof woof, woof woof woof. The sound of hunting dogs barking came from a distance, but Chendong paid no attention to them. With the combined fighting power of the 8 hunting dogs, they were not afraid of the pack of gray wolves. Besides, the gray wolves were frightened by the gunfire and were not in a fighting mood, so it was enough to let Dahong lead them to encircle and kill the prey. Zhuzi, give me the bag, Dong said as he approached a dead stag. This stag was strong and robust, weighing about 300 pounds, with newly sprouted antlers still covered in fuzz, weighing over 2 pounds. Freshly cut antlers are valuable. He pretended to take out a cup from the backpack and a dagger, moving forward to chop off the antlers. He collected the blood flowing from the cut into the cup. The blood from antlers is a rare item that cannot be bought on the market. Deer blood wine made from it has effects like nourishing yin and strengthening yang, benefiting blood, strengthening bones, detoxifying, and promoting muscle growth, similar to the effects of the antlers, but even more potent. The reason it cannot be found on the market is that true deer blood wine is only available after a hunter has killed a stag and cut off its antlers. A single stag yields a small half cup of antler blood at most. Hunters typically make deer blood wine for personal use or to gift to friends and family. Most of the stuff sold on the market is fake. Even if there is genuine blood, one wouldn't dare to buy it unless it's from a familiar source for fear of it being counterfeit. After chopping off a pair of antlers, he made a cut on the stag's neck to let it bleed. Although stag blood is also a good medicinal material, with the antler blood available, Dong was not interested in stag blood. Bleeding helps remove acidity, making the deer meat taste better. 1 pound of stag meat is much more expensive than pork. Dong used a plastic bag to pack the antlers. Next, he went to the other stag, chopped off the antlers, and collected a small half cup of antler blood. The 2 stags provided a large cup of antler blood. He could go home and make deer blood wine. After that, he also cut off the antlers from the 2 roe deer. Although roe deer antlers are not as valuable as stag antlers, they are still a moderately priced medicinal material. 2 stags, 3 roe deer, and 1 gray wolf all had their necks cut to let them bleed. Zhuzi, let's go check over there. Bring the prey we shot over, and we'll make a sled later, Dong said, holding the double-barreled shotgun, while Zhuzi followed him with the steel rod, quickly walking towards the meadow. On the way to the meadow, about 300 or 400 meters, they encountered 2 gray wolves with bloody necks, lying motionless, looking at the numerous wounds on their bodies. It was clear that Dahom and the others had caused them. Dong used his spear to stab at their heads. Wolves are clever and sometimes pretend to be dead. Regardless of whether they were truly dead, he decided to finish them off first. Sure enough, after the second wolf was stabbed, it kicked its legs in a frenzy before finally going still. Woof woof woof. Woof woof woof. From a distance, Dong saw Da Huang and the other 8 dogs surrounding 2 large Sika deer with antlers, which made him very happy. Da Huang really lived up to the hunting dog enlightenment symbol he used. It even knew to lead the pack to capture the most valuable Sika deer. If he got hold of these 2 deer, just the 4 pairs of antlers could sell for a little over 2,000. This hunting trip would be a great success, earning at least 3,000 or more. Chapter 41, followed by a pack of wolves. The fate of the 2 Sika deer was simple. Dong didn't even have to fire a shot. Instead, he used a throwing spear to stab them one after the other. He cut off the antlers, collected the deer blood, and bled them out. The antlers and deer blood were stored in his spiritual spring space. With a dagger in hand, Dong ripped open the bellies of the 2 Sika deer and removed their internal organs. He also chopped off the heads and 4 hooves. Originally weighing over 200 pounds, the Sika deer now only had about 100 pounds of pure meat left. Some of the entrails and parts of the hooves would be given to the mountain lord. The thing was, he couldn't take everything at once with the sled. So he pretended to cut open the bellies to extract the entrails, putting on a show for Zhuzi. Later, when he got to the other side, he planned to store most of the entrails and hooves in the spiritual spring space. With so many entrails and hooves, wouldn't it be great to feed the dogs? He didn't always have such a big haul when going into the mountains. He handled the roe deer the same way, opening the belly to take out the entrails, chopping off the head and hooves. As for the wolves, he just skinned them directly. Wolf pelts were worth some money. The supply and marketing station would pay several dozen for wolf pelts. Hats made from wolf pelts or leather pants were very warm to wear. As for the wolf meat, he told Zhuzi to leave it behind because it was too tough and had a strong gamey smell, which few people liked. In fact, Dong was thinking about finding an opportunity to store the wolf meat in the spiritual spring space. Wouldn't it be great to feed the dogs? The 8 dogs ate like gluttons. A wolf weighs about 40 to 50 pounds. If he let them eat freely, they could easily consume a whole wolf in one meal. This is why he wanted to be a lone wolf. Who would have thought that after just a few trips into the mountains with Zhuzi, luck would be this good? He decided not to bring Zhuzi next time. If he managed to hunt more prey, he could just store it in the spiritual spring space. Dong thought to himself, How? Howl. From several hundred meters away, the dense bushes echoed with the sounds of wolf howls. Woof, woof, woof. Dahe and Xiao Huang responded with frantic barking from the hillside. If you howl again, I'll kill you, wolf pups. Chen Dong cursed angrily. Wolves have long memories and a strong sense of revenge. But Chen Dong wasn't he afraid. With 8 hunting dogs, 2 rifles, and over 300 rounds of ammunition, a dozen wolves were nothing to worry about. He signaled Air Zhuzi to drag the processed game back to the place where they had hunted. After Air Zhuzi walked a few dozen meters away, he said he forgot something and turned back to store some entrails and the skinned wolf meat in the spiritual spring space. For the next half hour, Chen Dong and Air Zhuzi processed the remaining 2 sika deer, 3 gray wolves, and several roe deer. They opened their bellies, chopped off heads and hooves, and skinned them. There were a total of 6 roe deer. From the 10 shots he fired, he hit 2 roe deer, one of which was still alive but severely injured, which Chen Dong swiftly dealt with. The 4 processed sika deer weighed over 600 pounds combined, and the 6 processed roe deer weighed around 150 pounds. Adding 5 wolf pelts, which weighed about 50 to 60 pounds, the total haul was around 800 pounds. There was no need to set up a sled. On one hand, building a sled was troublesome. Even if they did, dragging it out of the mountains would be a hassle, especially since it wasn't winter. They could encounter bumps and would need to lift and carry things, which would take time. On the other hand, they had been here a bit too long and needed to leave. If they stayed any longer, the smell of blood could attract top predators like tigers, northeast leopards, or black bears. Chen Dong had guns, dogs, and was confident, but he would still feel some pain if he lost 1 or 2 dogs. Moreover, even if he managed to hunt more game, it would take some time to carry it back. Next time, he wouldn't bring Air Zhuzi along. If Air Zhuzi wasn't with him, he could just store everything in the spiritual spring space. Chen Dong thought to himself. He never expected that on his first trip into the old forest, he would encounter so many prey. All right, let me give you some water. You all worked hard this time. Chen Dong took a cup and let each of the 8 dogs drink a couple of mouthfuls of water. He had added a drop of spiritual spring water to it. After drinking, the 8 dogs looked extremely excited, their eyes shining. The 2 reindeer also noticed that the water the dogs drank was something good. They curled their upper lips and made a snorting sound, stretching their necks, their tongues long, eyes wide open, looking like they wanted some too. All right, you can all have a drink. Chen Dong smiled. After bringing the cup to their mouths, he let them each have 2 drops of spiritual spring water. Da Li and Xiao Li, whom he had already agreed to buy, had a friendly price of 260 for both from his dad and Uncle Yu. The payment could come later, since they were now part of his organization. Giving them 2 drops of spiritual spring water was no big deal. With their size, could they consume 2 drops of spiritual spring water every day? The extra information in his mind prompted him to give them each another drop. Howl, howl. After consuming the spiritual spring water, Da Li and Xiao Li shook their ears, stretched their necks, and let out a low howling sound, continuously wagging their tails. They even raised their rear ends to urinate. These 2 brutes were exaggeratingly displaying mating behaviors after drinking the spiritual spring water. Clearly, after drinking the 2 drops of spiritual spring water, Da Li and Xiao Li looked at Chen Dong with much softer gazes and moved closer to him. Each of the 2 reindeer carried over 200 pounds of game, while Air Zhuzi carried a processed sika deer, and the 5 dogs each carried about 20 pounds. After several days of transformation from the spiritual spring water, the 5 dogs could easily handle 20 to 30 pounds. Chen Dong himself was carrying a processed sika deer weighing over 100 pounds. With the protection of Da Huang, Da He, and Xiao Huang, the 2 of them began to head back. The 100-plus pound sika deer felt very light on Chen Dong's back. Air Zhuzi also seemed to be carrying it easily, even offering to help Chen Dong, but Chen Dong naturally wouldn't let him. The road back to the village was still quite long, and Air Zhuzi might get tired after carrying it for a while. As they walked back, they occasionally heard the howls of wolves not far away, and the dogs were all on high alert. It was just 3 female wolves that they had killed. Did they really need to follow him all the way? Don't let me see your shadows. Otherwise, I'll shoot you. Around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when they were less than 5 miles from home, Chen Dong heard the sound of wolves howling, which made him curse as he raised his .56 rifle and fired several shots in the direction of the howling. He was being targeted by the wolves. If the wolves turned back, there must be a reason, either for revenge or gratitude. Chen Dong had killed 3 female wolves from the pack and skinned a few of them. It was normal for the vengeful wolf pups to have their sights set on him. After several gunshots, the howling stopped. Chen Dong, and Air Zhuzi continued forward. But just after walking less than 500 meters, they saw a few people coming down from the hillside, and Chen Dong recognized them. It was the people from Jiangjiagu and a few others. Upon seeing Chen Dong with the processed sika deer, 2 reindeer, and several pieces of prey carried by a few dogs, one person stepped forward and said, "Oh, isn't this Xiao Wu from Qinlu Tun? Your luck in hunting has been pretty good these days. You managed to catch so much prey again today." The others' eyes lit up as they looked at the prey that Chen Dong had caught. Sika deer, roe deer, wolf skins. These are all valuable items. Chen Dong smiled and said it was just as good luck. Unlike those from Wang Zhuang, these people did not demand a share of the prey. "Xiao Wu, you have a good relationship with De Peng from our village. I heard you're even connected by marriage. Just now, we met a few hunters from Wang Zhuang who said that De Peng's wife has been taken by his cousin Wang Kuanyu, who is trying to force her to remarry him under the pretext of borrowing money," one man said. Hearing this made Chen Dong's heart skip a beat. Chapter 42. What kind of scum is it for a big man to bully a woman? "Brothers, could you please help me out and carry this meat? Follow Zhuzi and deliver it to my home. I want to let you do it for free. I'll give you a roe deer and a couple of pounds of sika deer meat each. To go see Wang Zhuang, De Peng's wife is my wife's sister, and I certainly can't ignore this." When Chen Dong heard someone from Jiangjiagu say that Zhou Honglian had been taken to Wang Zhuang by Wang Kuanyu and that she was being forced to remarry, he couldn't help but feel anxious. Although he hadn't gone all the way with Zhou Honglian, she was still considered his woman. How could he not be worried if his woman was being held and forced to marry someone else? He had to go to Wang Zhuang to rescue her. "Xiao Wu, sure, don't worry, we will help carry your things home. Xiao Wu, just go to Wang Zhuang. We will deliver everything back to Qinlu Tun without missing a thing. De Peng's wife is your wife's sister. You really should take care of this. It wouldn't be right not to." Hearing that Chen Dong would give them a roe deer and a couple of pounds of sika deer meat each, their eyes lit up. A processed roe deer without organs or head would still have around 25 to 26 pounds of meat, meaning each person would get 5 or 6 pounds of roe deer meat, plus 2 or 3 pounds of sika deer meat. Carrying a few dozen pounds for 4 or 5 miles might be tiring, but there was meat. Chen Dong transferred the meat from the dogs onto these people and, with his backpack, briefly spoke to Zhuzi, said his farewells, and headed toward Wang Zhuang with 8 dogs. Those wolves shouldn't be able to catch up to Zhuzi and the others, right? Zhuzi and his group had 7 people, and those few had 4 shotguns. Encountering those wolves shouldn't be too big of a problem. As Chen Dong hurried along, he thought about the wolves that had been tracking him. He secretly wondered if he could pretend to take out the deer antlers from his backpack to use as payment to Wang Kuanyu when he helped Zhou Honglian repay her debt. Zhuzi knew there were deer antlers and blood in the backpack, but what if he took it home and his father opened it to find nothing? He also had 2 guns on his back. If something really happened, he could scare those people with the guns. Plus, with 8 dogs following him, a single command could deal with many people. Even in an urgent situation, he had to stay calm and think carefully. This was some experience he had gained from years of doing business and going through so much before his rebirth. Panic cannot lead to chaos. Chaos easily leads to trouble. However, Chen Dong was unaware that 8 or 9 gray wolves were lurking in the bushes 2 to 300 meters away, led by a gray wolf with a tuft of white fur on its head, following closely behind him. This gray wolf occasionally raised its head to look toward Chen Dong, its eyes flashing with ferocity. At Wang Zhuang, in Wang Chuanyo's house, many people were gathered to watch the commotion. Zhou Honglian's face was slightly red. Her expression filled with anger as she was blocked by Wang Kuanyu and a few others. "Honglian, it's only right to pay back debts. You 2 borrowed 300 yuan from me a year ago. According to the normal interest rates in our village, you should pay me 420. Don't complain about the high interest. That's just how it is in our village. I have no choice. I urgently need the money, which is why I'm stopping you to ask you to find a way to pay me back today. I'm embarrassed to go to your house given De Peng's situation. What if he gets angry and something bad happens? Also, don't be angry. What I said earlier was sincere. I do like you quite a bit. Given De Peng's condition, to put it bluntly, how much longer can he last? You see, my family conditions are decent, and I'm not bad looking. Why not divorce De Peng and marry me? You won't have to bear the title of a widow. In our village, being a widow is not easy. If it really comes to it, I can help you take care of De Peng together, so you don't have to live such a hard life." Wang Kuanyu, with a pig kidney-shaped face and a smile plastered on, looked at Zhou Honglian with burning eyes. The crowd watching the scene also chimed in. "Yeah, De Peng doesn't have much time left. It's better to remarry Wang Kuanyu." Remarrying is better than being a widow, right? Widows have it the hardest in the countryside. You really need to think it over. At Depeng's house. Your cousin is also considering you and Depeng's well-being. If you marry your cousin, you won't have to bear the title of a widow. And you two can take good care of Depeng together. Think about it. Depeng is in this state. How much longer can he live? He has no parents or siblings. If he goes, what will you do? If you marry your cousin, he has plenty of siblings. And you'll have family to rely on, so you won't have to live so hard. You really need to think this through. Remarrying is better than being a widow. After all, he is also Depeng's cousin, and marrying him would be like family marrying family. How could he treat you badly? Among the onlookers, a few of Wang Xuanyou's supporters were helping him speak. Standing in the courtyard, Zhou Honglian listened to what they were saying and felt a sense of unnaturalness wash over her, along with a wave of inexplicable panic and helplessness. Wang Quanyu was bullying Jiang Depeng because he was an orphan and she had no one to support her, which is why he dared to say such things openly. From the time her family had died due to natural disasters to her fleeing here and marrying Jiang Depeng, she hadn't had a single good day and had no one to support her. She naturally thought of Chun Dong, the man who had been helping her. However, the thought of carrying the title of a widow in the future made her heart ache deeply. How she longed for someone to stand up and protect her. Seeing Zhou Honglian's troubled expression, Wang Quanyu felt the timing was right and leaned in, speaking seriously. Honglian, if you follow me, I will definitely treat you well. Also, don't worry about the money you owe. You won't have to pay it back. As he spoke, he reached out to grab Zhou Honglian's hand. Zhou Honglian instinctively recoiled and shouted in a trembling voice, "What are you doing? Are you trying to molest me? Do you believe I'll report you to the police?" Seeing Zhou Honglian react this way made Wang Quanyu a bit reckless, and he even forgot himself, saying, "What's wrong with me molesting you? I have friends in the police station." Just then, a man's furious shout came from the entrance. "Hey, what kind of scum is it for a big man to bully a woman?" Immediately after, a man with a backpack and 2 guns slung over his shoulder burst out from the crowd of onlookers at the door. A few dogs followed closely behind him as he charged in. When Zhou Honglian saw the man's appearance, she instantly felt a surge of excitement. Like a drowning person grabbing a lifeline. Chapter 43. Shindong punches Wang Zhuang's man. Zhou Honglian threatens everyone with a gun. The man was none other than Shindong. He quickly rushed to Zhou Honglian's side, shielding her behind him, and faced Wang Quanyu directly, cursing loudly. "What kind of dog shit are you? You say you're Jiang Dapeng's cousin, but honestly, you're just a local thug. Your cousin is sick right now, and you're rushing him for that little money you lent him. Is that high-interest loan necessary? You're even more outrageous. Wanting his wife to marry you instead. Do you have no conscience? And you're flaunting your connections with the police, acting like a bully in front of everyone, huh?" Chen Dong unleashed a torrent of insults at Wang Quanyu. He had run over 4 miles, taking a full 10 minutes to reach Wang Zhuang. After asking around, he found out where Wang Quanyu lived and made his way here. The mountainous terrain was uneven, with several steep inclines and declines. So despite using all his strength to run, it still took him 10 minutes. Otherwise, if it were flat land, he could have covered that distance in 4 to 5 minutes at full speed, given his current physical condition. Hearing Wang Quanyu call him a bully in front of everyone triggered thoughts in Chun Dong's mind about teaching him a lesson. Hitting him would deter Wang Quanyu from retaliating. It's all about framing the situation. I'm a social man. As someone who has dabbled in the underworld, Chun Dong understood how to leverage the law and avoid legal repercussions to thrive. In this era, getting into a fight could easily lead to severe criminal charges. And for serious offenses like being a thug, you could end up shot. While speaking, Chun Dong took the dual guns from his back and handed them to Zhou Honglian. "Sister Honglian, hold on to the guns for me." He also instructed to Huang, "You guys keep an eye on Sister Honglian and the guns. Having a gun or not changes the legal implications when dealing with someone." Zhou Honglian held the guns tightly, her face tense. Chun Dong smiled gently at her, giving her shoulder a light push. "Sister Honglian, step back for a moment. Let me have a good talk with this rogue." Looking at Chun Dong's calm smile gave Zhou Honglian an inexplicable sense of security. Originally, Wang Quanyu was somewhat intimidated when he saw Chun Dong, who was carrying 2 guns and a pack of dogs, approaching. The onlookers were also taken aback by his imposing presence. However, when Wang Quanyu saw Chun Dong voluntarily unload the guns, he immediately snapped back angrily. "Who the hell are you? I'm practically family with Honglian. What does our business have to do with you?" Wang Quanyu, still reeling from Chun Dong's insults, was too flustered to realize that Chun Dong had set him up from the start. "You're that little brat from Chunliu's old tree family. You're no good. Are you?" A few days ago, we chased a wild boar away from our crops, and you picked up 3 of them for yourself, keeping it all to yourself. Hey, Chen Xiaowu, how dare you meddle in our affairs? We were just about to settle the score with you regarding the 2 big pigs you owe us money for. You showing up here is just perfect. We'll sort out the debts from a few days ago. This is Chun Dong from Chenlu. A few days ago, he forced Changhe to break off his engagement. His actions have infuriated Changhe's parents, and this brat dares to come to our village and cause trouble repeatedly. The men standing next to Wang Kuanyu spoke angrily towards Chun Dong. Meanwhile, some onlookers recognized Chun Dong as the one who had forced Wang Changhe to break off his engagement. Seeing their expressions, Chun Dong couldn't help but smile. These were the same people he had dealt with a few days ago, beating up the Pao's son and pretending to know where injured wild boars were hiding, only to carry 2 of them home. This incident had undoubtedly reached the ears of Wang Zhuang's people. They realized they had been played, which fueled their anger. Unexpectedly, they had teamed up with Wang Kuanyu. With many people knowing about his forced engagement incident, Chen Dong had offended quite a few people in Wang Zhuang. What debts? What debts? You can't catch any prey. What does that have to do with me? And honestly, you guys should reflect. Does Wang Changhe's looks even match my sister-in-law? Chen Dong waved his hand dismissively at Wang Kuanyu and said angrily, Wang Kuanyu, what you're doing is intolerable. I can't just stand by and watch. It seemed that a fight today was unavoidable. After all, he had offended too many people in Wang Zhuang. However, Chen Dong wasn't afraid at all. Once the fight broke out and the situation spiraled out of control, he would just give the order, and his 8 dogs would spring into action. He took the guns back into his hands, the magazines in his grip, and he wasn't worried about Zhou Honglian getting the guns taken away. Damn, you're pretty arrogant, huh? I'll let you see what happens when you cross us. Wang Kuanyu shouted angrily, and then threw a punch at Chen Dong's face. Chen Dong sidestepped and easily dodged Wang Chuanyu's punch, then elbowed him hard in the chest. Bang! A dull thud echoed. Wang Kuanyu let out a painful scream, staggering back 2 steps before clutching his chest and collapsing to the ground, moaning in agony. Seeing Wang Kuanyu taken down by Chen Dong, Wang Detsai was momentarily stunned, then shouted, Brothers, get him. Beat this kid up. How dare he come to our Wang Zhuang and cause trouble? He clearly doesn't take us seriously. As he spoke, he lunged at Chen Dong. But the next moment, he was met with a swift kick from Chen Dong, landing squarely in his abdomen. Then he curled up on the ground, clutching his stomach, his back arched like a shrimp, his face flushed as he cried out in pain. At the same time, Chen Dong saw a few men rushing towards him, and he deftly dodged left and right, throwing punches and kicks, knocking down 4 more. As someone who had dabbled in the underworld before, he had specifically hired 2 martial arts experts to teach him Baguazhang and Sanso techniques. Although he wouldn't call himself a master, he was certainly better than the average person. Now, after being tempered by the spiritual spring water, his physical condition was extraordinary. And perhaps due to his rebirth, he had a deeper understanding of the techniques he learned. Handling 8 or 9 people was no problem at all. In less than 20 seconds, 6 men were left groaning on the ground in pain. This left the onlookers from Wang Zhuang stunned. The atmosphere became strange, with only the sounds of their 6 cries echoing, while the crowd remained eerily silent. Suddenly, a tall, strong man stepped forward and shouted, Everyone from Wang Zhuang, let us go together and beat this kid up. He came to our Wang Zhuang to fight. If we don't teach him a lesson, people will think we're weak. Hearing what the tall man said, several other onlookers also rushed forward. Yes, we must deal with this kid harshly. He's gone too far, daring to cause trouble in our village. The men of Wang Zhuang, come and teach this kid a lesson. Woof woof, woof woof, woof woof. A few dogs, including De Huang, barked loudly at these people, waiting for Chen Dong's command to pounce on them. Chen Dong was also planning to order the dogs to attack. However, at that moment, Zhou Honglian, who had been standing aside, raised a double-barreled shotgun, pointing it at the crowd. Her face was flushed. Her hand trembled slightly as she shouted with a quivering voice, Everyone, stand still. If any of you dare to move, I'll shoot you dead. Seeing Zhou Honglian aiming the gun at them frightened the crowd, turning their faces pale, and they dared not take another step forward. Chen Dong smiled inwardly, knowing that once Zhou Honglian pointed the gun at the crowd, the matter had reached its conclusion. Chapter 44. After a series of operations, Wang Kuanyu was scared to his knees. What are you doing? Is everyone in Wangzhuang a bunch of thugs aiding and abetting? Is there no law, no justice left? Wang Kuanyu shouted in public. You not only don't stop him from being a rogue, but you also think about aiding and abetting him. I see you all must want to be shot. Shundong shouted loudly, then walked in front of Zhou Honglian and took the double-barreled shotgun from her hands. She had quite a strong grip. In front of everyone, Shundong reached into his pocket, took out 2 lead-shot shells, opened the gun chamber, pulled the switch, and broke the barrel to reveal the chamber, loading the bullets. Click! With a flick of his wrist, he closed the gun, disengaged the safety. I thought you just liked to watch the excitement and didn't mean to escalate things, so I didn't load the gun earlier. Yet you still aid and abet the rogue. Don't blame me for acting on behalf of the heavens. The crime of being a rogue is punishable by death, and those who assist rogues will also face severe punishment. Even if I kill a few of you, the country will show leniency towards me. After all, I am helping the good. Shundong aimed the double-barreled shotgun at the crowd and took the 56 semi-automatic rifle off Zhou Honglian's shoulder. Then, in front of everyone, he pulled out 2 magazines from his pocket and quickly loaded them, disengaged the safety, and chambered a round. Come on, come on. Let me show you if these 2 guns and these 8 hunting dogs are just for show. Shundong commanded the barking dogs, De Huang, make them shut up first. Wait until I say so, then you can bite those beasts aiding the rogue. Earlier, on the way, Shundong had told De Huang that when they arrived, if he got into a fight with others, they should bark loudly but not attack. When he told them to be quiet, they should stop barking. When it was time to attack, they could pounce and bite people. With De Huang's intelligence, plus the time spent in the mountains today, Shundong had trained them, issuing commands to De Huang, who then conveyed them to the other dogs. De Huang now had the intelligence of a 6 or 7-year-old child. With just a few words and a demonstration, he understood. Then he ordered the other dogs, fully showcasing the role of a good dog translator. Woof, woof, woof. Woof, woof, woof. De Huang, standing in front of the dogs, barked a few times at them, and then they all quieted down. The newly loaded double-barreled shotgun, along with the 8 fierce-looking hunting dogs, made the crowd uneasy. More importantly, Shundong accused Wang Kuan-yu of being a rogue, and they were accomplices to the rogue. This made them all fearful, not daring to step forward. The crime of being a rogue is a serious offense. If they were accomplices, they would also face heavy sentences. Not to mention, if anyone dared to act rashly, what if Shundong really shot? They were all scared to death. What rogue? I haven't done anything wrong. The men of Wangzhuang, what are you afraid of? He has only a few bullets in his gun. There's no need to be afraid. He's causing trouble in our Wangzhuang. He doesn't even take us seriously. Let's all go together and kill him. Wang Kuan-yu, who had just gotten up from the ground and was holding his chest, pointed at Shundong and shouted loudly. As he spoke, the pain in his chest made him wince slightly. However, as soon as Wang Kuan-yu finished speaking, none of the onlookers from Wangzhuang said anything or stepped forward. Even Wang Dicai, whom Wang Kuan-yu had invited to help block Zhou Honglian, did not dare to approach. Shundong smiled. His words had silenced them. If it weren't for branding Wang Kuan-yu with the label of a rogue and tagging them as accomplices to a rogue, it's likely that his 2 guns alone wouldn't have intimidated them. In that era, the people of the northeastern mountain villages were known for their fierce demeanor. Indeed, the law was the best weapon. You approached Sister Honglian in front of everyone and admitted to being a rogue. And you even said you know people in the police station. Everyone heard that. I already sent someone to report to the police station before coming here. When the time comes, you can tell the police these things. Let's see if they believe you. Shundong said coldly. By loading the bullets in front of everyone, he signaled that he was forced to load them. Before this, he hadn't intended to escalate to this point. He did this mainly to provide a clear account to the police and the public if someone really called the police. Intentional gun possession and forced retaliation are different crimes. If it really came to that, the charges would be different. I just said it, I wasn't being a rogue. Hearing Shundong say this, Wang Kuan-yu finally reacted, realizing the seriousness of the situation, and he spoke in a panic. Shundong coldly replied, you say you weren't being a rogue. Just saying it casually. Then let me ask you, Sister Honglian owes you 300, but today she came to pay you 200. And you held her back because she didn't pay in full. Isn't that being a rogue? You forced her to marry you. Isn't that being a rogue? Do you think when you tell this to the police, they will believe you? After Shundong's 3 consecutive questions, before Wang Kuan-yu could respond, Wang Dicai, who was beside him, spoke up in a panic. Kuan-yu, you only said you wanted us to help you pressure your sister-in-law to return the money, and you didn't mention forcing her to marry you. As for your rogue behavior, that has nothing to do with me. Everyone, please testify for me. Another man beside him also spoke in a flustered manner. Kuan-yu, you can't blame us for your rogue behavior. Yet another person quickly added, exactly, Kuan-yu. You only said to help you collect money. But what rogue behavior are you talking about? Meanwhile, the crowd that had originally gathered to watch the excitement and were about to participate in attacking Chen Dong began to voice their opinions. Kuan Yu, what you've done is indeed excessive. After all, Hong Lian is your sister-in-law. It's really wrong for you to treat her this way. Yes, De Peng is your cousin, borrowing a little money from you, yet you resort to usury and force his wife to remarry. Do you think that's right? Kuan Yu, you're being foolish. This really shouldn't be the case. Forget about the money for now. Hurry up and apologize to win her forgiveness. Damn it, Kuan Yu. I was still thinking of helping you earlier, but I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Among the onlookers, some were advising Kuan Yu to apologize, while others were outright cursing him. How could they not curse? They were just there to watch the excitement, yet they were branded as accomplices to a rogue. Some people had already run away in fear, hearing his fellow villagers, even those he had invited for help, saying he was being a rogue. Kuan Yu broke out in a cold sweat, his legs trembling uncontrollably. Regarding the series of charges mentioned by Chen Dong, a serious charge of hooliganism could easily be applied. Even a gun-related issue wouldn't be a big deal. Just then, a middle-aged man who had just approached from the crowd, asking others what was going on, stepped forward and said, "Little Wu from Chunlu, I'm Wang Quansheng, the team leader from Wangzhuang. We are all neighbors. There's no need to escalate this matter. How about I let Kuan Yu apologize to you, and you can forget about the money? This matter can be considered settled. Kuan Yu may not be the best, but he doesn't deserve to be thrown in jail over this." Chen Dong smiled inwardly. He had been waiting for someone with weight from Wangzhuang to step in and provide a way out of this situation. This matter might actually get Kuan Yu a hooliganism charge, but since he came with a gun and threatened everyone, he would also have to face some consequences. With the Lingquan space, it wouldn't be difficult for him to eliminate Kuan Yu, but he didn't want to involve himself in any prison time. Upon hearing the team leader Wang Xuansheng's words, Kuan Yu seemed to see a glimmer of hope and quickly nodded, saying, I apologize. I was blinded by greed. I apologize. I don't want the remaining money. Little Wu, considering we are all from the same village, please spare me." Team leader Wang Quansheng also said, "Little Wu, look, Kuan Yu has apologized and doesn't want the money. Let us just forget about this. If he dares to retaliate against you, you can report him to the police and make sure he gets a harsh sentence." Chen Dong replied, "An apology from him is useless. He should apologize to Sister Hong Lian. Whether he can earn her forgiveness depends on the sincerity of his apology, like kneeling to apologize." Thud. Kuan Yu knelt down in front of Zhou Honglian. Chapter 45. Zhou Honglian. There's a cave ahead. Let us go sit there. Honglian, I apologize to you. Please forgive me. I was out of my mind, blinded by greed, and did such a thing. I don't want the remaining money. I beg you, considering that De Peng and I are relatives, please let me go. Kuan Yu pleaded in front of Zhou Honglian. He was scared, because everything Chen Dong casually said could get him a hooliganism charge. Moreover, he had publicly admitted to being a hooligan. Recently, in the neighboring Maotan, someone was punished for publicly flirting with a woman, and when the woman reported him, he was sentenced to 6 years. Furthermore, last year, someone reported a man who frightened a woman urinating by the roadside, and that man was sentenced for hooliganism. Chen Dong looked at Kuan Yu kneeling and apologizing in front of him, and at Zhou Honglian, whose face was flushed with tension. He instinctively turned to Chen Dong and said, Chen Dong said, "Sister Honglian, whether to forgive him or not depends on you. If you want to report him to the police, I will accompany you to report him, aiming to get him a longer sentence. If you choose to forgive him, then let this matter end today. If he dares to do anything to you again, I will protect you." Team leader Wang Quansheng said, "De Peng's family. You and Kuan Yu are considered relatives. Let us let this matter go." Among the onlookers, some also spoke up. De Peng's family. Yes, Kuan Yu is also De Peng's cousin. For the sake of family, let him go. De Peng's family, no matter how you look at it, you are relatives. When you borrowed money, he was also quick to lend it to you. De Peng's family. Actually, Kuan Yu was just talking nonsense. He didn't do anything outrageous. Chen Dong erupted with a strong aura and coldly shouted, "Everyone shut up. Whether to let him go is up to Sister Honglian to decide." His powerful presence instantly created an inexplicable pressure on everyone present. After saying this, Chen Dong looked at Zhou Honglian. Zhou Honglian took a deep breath and said, "Second cousin, let today's matter pass. I will pay you back the 100 yuan I owe you later." "Honglian, you don't need to pay it back. You don't need to pay it back. Thank you for forgiving me." When Wang Kuan Yu heard Zhou Honglian say the matter was over, he quickly stood up smiling. Drenched in sweat, Zhou Honglian maintained a stern face and said, Just because I said it's over today doesn't mean I've forgiven you. Once I pay back the money, our families will cut ties and never interact again. Wang Kuan-yu quickly stepped forward and said, Honglian, listen to me. I really was blinded by greed. Shindong stepped forward to block him and said, Enough, you don't need to explain. It's already good that Sister Honglian isn't reporting you to the police. As he spoke, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small piece of deer antler, about 4 or 5 tails, worth 100 yuan easily. Here's the deer antler. Bring me the IOU. They don't owe you money anymore. If I find out you ask Sister Honglian for money again or dare to trouble her, then don't blame me for reporting you to the police. On the way here, he had cut half a piece of deer antler from a large piece, planning to use it to settle the debt. Sister Honglian is indeed a strong and assertive woman. The events that happened here were mostly as Chun Dong had envisioned. However, he hadn't expected Zhou Honglian to threaten everyone with a gun. Now Zhou Honglian wanted to repay the money and publicly declared a severance of relations with Wang Kuan-yu. This decisiveness was not something an ordinary woman could achieve. Reflecting on his 2 encounters with Zhou Honglian, Chun Dong realized she was indeed not simple. Which woman would come up and hold hands and face gang-related issues so openly? Hearing Chun Dong say this, team leader Wang Quanqing immediately asked Wang Kuan-yu to produce the IOU. After handing the IOU to Zhou Honglian, he received the half piece of deer antler from Chun Dong. Zhou Honglian, upon getting the IOU, tore it up in public. Chun Dong, let us go, Zhou Honglian said. Chun Dong nodded. Okay, Sister Honglian, let us go. He then turned to the onlookers and said, I say, everyone from Wangzhuang, there's no more excitement to see. You all disperse. Just then, a gunshot rang out at the entrance. Then, a familiar voice came. If anything happens to my little Wu, I will shoot you all one by one for his life. The people standing at the entrance quickly stepped aside. A tall young man, about 1.9 meters, with a flushed face and sweating profusely, stood next to a short elderly man with gray hair. The old man was holding a double-barreled shotgun and had 7 or 8 wooden-handled grenades hanging from his waist. He looked fierce and intimidating. This old man was none other than Chun Dong's father, Chun Laoshu, holding the double-barreled shotgun and with wooden grenades at his waist. He exuded the aura of the gun king of Chun Lu Tun, known in his youth. If he were to wear a black leather coat and sunglasses, he would look like James Bond. Seeing that Chun Dong was fine, the originally fierce Chun Laoshu quickly asked, Little Wu, are you okay? Chun Dong smiled and said, Dad, I'm fine. What brought you here? Chun Laoshu replied, I was supposed to go up the mountain to pick you up with your Uncle Yu, but I happened to run into Air Zhuzi and the people from Jiangjiagu. After hearing what they said, I borrowed a gun and had Air Zhuzi carry me here. I'm glad you're okay. Team leader Wang Quanqing quickly stepped forward and smiled. Uncle Laoshu, we are all neighbors. How could we possibly fight over a small matter? Soon, the 4 of them left Wangzhuang just like that. During a conversation with his father, Chun Dong learned that the wooden-handled grenade hanging from his father's waist was borrowed from a few hunters in Jiangjiagu. It was something they used for hunting. In this era, hunters had such wild equipment. Old Chen also knew Zhou Honglian. Chun Dong exchanged a brief glance with Zhou Honglian, and when Old Chen asked about what happened in Wangzhuang, they said nothing much happened. The people in Wangzhuang were still very reasonable. Chun Dong reminded Old Chen that if Su Yun heard about this and asked, he should say it like this to avoid worrying her. At the fork in the road leading to Jiangjiagu and Chenlutan, Chun Dong said, Dad, Zhuzi, you guys go home first. I'll take Sister Honglian home. Da Huang, let Da He and Xiao Huang follow me. And you take the others to accompany my dad back home. Chun Dong squatted down and patted Da Huang's head as he instructed. Da Huang whined understandingly a couple of times, and then led Da Tu and the other 5 dogs to follow behind Old Chun. After this incident, Chun Dong was determined to take Zhou Honglian home. He let Da Huang lead Da Tu and the others to take Old Chun home because Da Huang could command them. If they followed Old Chun home by themselves, they might scatter. Chun Dong was very meticulous about these details. Watching Zhuzi carry Old Chun away, with Da Huang and the dogs following behind them, disappearing into the dim night, Chun Dong couldn't help but smile at Zhou Honglian and said, Sister Honglian, if Wang Kuan-yu dares to find you again, just tell me, and I'll deal with him. It was already 6:30, and the sky was getting darker. With no one around, Zhou Honglian took the initiative to hold Chun Dong's hand, pointing with her other hand to a nearby mountain gorge where there was a cave. Let us go sit inside. Upon hearing her words and seeing that no one was around, Chun Dong immediately wrapped his arms around her waist and picked her up in a princess carry, grinning. All right, Let us go sit in the cave. Chapter 46. The golden scales are not just for the pond. The cave was small, but it couldn't stop two hearts yearning for freedom. The place was simple, yet it couldn't hinder two passionate individuals. A man who had built up strength his entire life, and a woman who was married but felt like a widow. Once they began, it was as if the golden wind and jade dew met, surpassing countless encounters in the world. On an evening of high moon and gentle breeze, with the sound of insects and the fragrance of flowers, from dusk until the moon rose high, everything happened without surprise. Although it was brief, lasting only a little over an hour, Qindong felt a bit unsatisfied, as his body, enhanced by the spirit spring water, was too strong. But since it had happened, he thought they could continue the next time. Sister Honglian, there's no one on the road now. How about I carry you? Qindong, who was as meticulous as a needle, noticed Zhou Honglian's odd gait and quietly said. Zhou Honglian bit her lips slightly and whispered, "No need. We're in the village now. It's not good if someone sees." She added with a hint of annoyance. Qindong scratched his head. "Sister, I want to take the blame for this. It's clearly you." Zhou Honglian's hand twisted in his armpit, and the usually strong woman showed a rare shy demeanor, saying, "Don't say it, don't say it." Qindong chuckled. Earlier, Zhou Honglian had indeed been quite proactive. However, Qindong was not the type to be passive either. In the end, Zhou Honglian submitted. She was indeed a strong woman, holding back the entire time. Of course, Qindong knew this was because she was afraid of being overheard by passers-by. Soon, he delivered Zhou Honglian home. Lying on the Kong, Jiang Daping still had no idea what had happened, mainly because when Zhou Honglian went out to pay back the debt, she told Jiang Daping that even though she had returned late, he didn't think much of it. Even if some neighbors knew what had happened in Wangzhuang, no one dared to tell him. What if he got so angry he collapsed? Lying in bed, unable to move, eating and sleeping, someone brought food to his mouth. Not hearing about the outside world, sometimes it was quite nice. But Jiang Daping wouldn't live for many more months. Qindong, thank you so much for helping me pay off the debt. I won't have to think about it anymore, Jiang Daping said, grasping Qindong's hand with a sigh after hearing that the couple's debt to Wang Kuan-yu had been settled. Qindong smiled. Brother-in-law, you're being too polite. Even if we didn't have this relationship, I would still find a way to help if you and your wife needed to borrow money. Qindong, hurry up and settle things with Honglian, Jiang Daping whispered as he saw Zhou Honglian tidying up things from the outer room. Qindong replied, Brother-in-law, I'll do my best. Here we go again. Not only was he anxious, but Qindong was also anxious. Can I tell you that Honglian and I have already done it? This matter depends on whether Zhou Honglian wants to tell you. Qindong, after you and Honglian settle things, let me know how it feels, Jiang Daping said quietly again. Qindong looked at the hopeful Jiang Daping with some astonishment. I say, brother-in-law, this. I've seen quite a few weirdos, but none as weird as you. You've been ruined, and you're going to die. It's not unfair at all. Qindong almost wanted to say, your wife is really amazing. Soon, he said goodbye to Jiang Daping and planned to get up and leave. After walking out of the room, Qindong said to Zhou Honglian, Sister Honglian, I'll be leaving now. I'll come again another day. Zhou Honglian smiled and said, I'll be waiting for you. Qindong grinned. She understood him. Then he stepped forward to hug her. Before long, Qindong walked out of the kitchen, feeling satisfied, thinking about the indescribable experience they shared. Zhou Honglian watched Qindong disappear into the night, took a deep breath, and recalled the moment when he appeared with dual guns, protecting her when she felt most helpless. He had beaten Wang Kuan-yu and confronted so many people in Wangzhuang, causing many to turn against him, making Wang Kuan-yu kneel in front of her to apologize, allowing her to decide his fate. He even said he would protect her safety in the future. He provided her with a sense of security while giving her ample respect. What woman doesn't long for a hero like a Prince Charming? For Zhou Honglian, she wasn't naturally strong. It was just life's demands. Qindong suddenly made her feel as if a dream had come true. Tall, handsome, brave, clever, and responsible. Even all the hardships she endured over the years were just to wait for Qindong's appearance. Although they came together through a gang alliance, so what? It was just that this kid was too bad, thinking about how he had played around in the cave, and before leaving, still messing around in the kitchen stove. However, her face was blooming with a smile. She liked it. Today, Qindong's performance in Wangzhuang made Zhou Honglian feel like she was getting to know him anew. She hadn't expected that Qindong had such a brave and clever side. Agreeing to form a gang alliance with Qindong, she initially thought, since she was looking for someone, why not find someone she had once been interested in, and whose wife could accept her, so they could support each other? She had too many expectations for Chen Dong. But Chen Dong's performance today in Wang Zhuang refreshed her perception of him. He was brave enough to face challenges, willing to take action, and his clear-headed words turned the people of Wang Zhuang against Wang Kuan-yu, even making Wang Kuan-yu kneel. In the end, Wang Kuan-yu had to thank her. Thinking of this, Zhou Honglian felt that Chen Dong would surely have a bright future. The golden scales are not just for the pond. Wow, Chen Dong actually came to our village. Wang Changhe was drinking with two buddies when he overheard one of the new arrivals mention that Chen Dong had gone to Wang Zhuang and beaten up several people from Wang Kuan-yu, even forcing Wang Kuan-yu to apologize. This made Wang Changhe curse under his breath. This kid is so arrogant. This kid is not just arrogant. He completely looks down on us people from Wang Zhuang. A few days ago, when Dakai and the others hunted wild boars in our village, this kid took advantage and got a big boar egg. He even knew where the injured wild boars were hiding and secretly killed them at night to take home. He said whoever catches the prey gets to keep it. Is that something you say? He didn't even share a bit of the prey with Dakai and the others. This kid is truly inhumane. He should at least share some wild boar meat with Dakai and the others. Yet he sold all 3 big wild boars by himself. This kid is being underhanded. It's really infuriating. Next time I see him, I'll definitely find an excuse to teach him a lesson. Watching his 2 buddies seethe when Chen Dong was mentioned, Wang Changhe took a puff of his cigarette and said to his good pals from Wang Zhuang, Dalong, Erming, I haven't looked into those few matters lately. Is there a mole among us? I believe you 2 can't be the moles. Since they all swore they were not the moles, how did others know about these things? Remains a mystery. I won't hide it from everyone. The person who told me about these matters is precisely that kid Chen Dong, but he doesn't know how he found out. So, I was thinking, let us come up with a plan to secretly hold this kid down and ask him how he knows about this. Then we'll see who the mole is. And it'll be clear as day. Once we find out who the mole is, I'll make that kid pay. Wang Changhe said coldly with a grim face. What Chen Dong said to him that day prompted Wang Changhe to find those few accomplices who often engaged in shady dealings with him to try to find the mole. In the end, they all suspected each other and ended up fighting, and Wang Changhe got punched a few times, leaving him bruised. He didn't tell them who revealed this matter because he feared it would alert the snake. However, the more he thought about it, the more frustrated he became. He planned to find out from Chen Dong who the mole was. Once he got rid of this mole, because once what he did was reported to the police, his life would be in danger. As for Chen Dong, he naturally had to deal with him too. Just right, taking advantage of this kid causing trouble in our Wang Zhuang. Even if we kidnapped him, or even worse, no one would suspect us. I think you all know that if these matters were reported to the police, all 3 of us would be doomed. A glint of murderous intent flashed in Wang Changhe's eyes. This Wang Zhuang really has a connection with me. First, it's Wang Changhe, then Wang Dicai and the others wanting to take my prey. Now, Wang Kuan-yu is trying to get his hands on my woman. On the way back to Qinluotan, Chen Dong thought to himself, fine, I just want to find a way to kill you guys from Wang Zhuang. Chen Dong's heart hardened with murderous intent. I have to eliminate them. Based on my experience from my past life in the business world and having been somewhat of a rogue, these 3 groups from Wang Zhuang are all potential threats to me. The more threats I have, the more likely someone will target me. So instead of waiting for others to come after me, I should take the initiative. How to get rid of them? If I directly eliminate them, it might raise suspicion. I need to come up with a suitable plan that makes their deaths appear natural and doesn't arouse others' suspicion. Chapter 47. Trouble with the Green Skin. Originally, how to deal with Wang Changhe. Chen Dong planned to wait a few days and then anonymously report him to the county police to get him locked up. He didn't go to submit the anonymous tip because he was afraid that if the police didn't catch him and he got away, Wang Changhe might suspect him. If that happened, desperate and ruthless, he might retaliate against him or his family. Chen Dong had no other options. He realized too late that telling Wang Changhe about this matter was somewhat abrupt and not well thought out. Mainly, when he had just been reborn. Su Yun begged him not to let Zhou Lanqin marry Wang Changhe and even used the matter of getting Zhou Honglian to form a gang as a condition. Remembering everything from his previous life and thinking about Su Yun being pregnant, Chen Dong only wanted to quickly return the betrothal gifts and end the marriage. This was the best way he could think of to cancel the engagement directly, and Wang Changhe wouldn't dare to pressure him. So, one must always maintain composure when doing things. Once you lose your composure, it's easy to invite unnecessary trouble. Chen Dong rubbed his head. He was thinking about how to deal with Wang Changhe, Wang Dicai, and Wang Kuan-yu. He needed to design a good trap. Headache. Let us not think about these things for now. No matter what, The pent-up energy from a lifetime has finally been released. Sister Honglian was just too satisfying. Chun Dong couldn't help but think of Zhou Honglian without clothes, her full and rounded figure, and her exaggerated curves, especially when she was at home, bent over the stove. Thinking of that scene made Chun Dong's heart flutter. But time was too short. Otherwise, he would have spent 3 days and nights in the room with Zhou Honglian, making sure she couldn't even walk, let alone get out of bed. Before he even got home, Da Huang came bouncing up, making affectionate noises. Chun Dong patted Da Huang's head. Da Huang, you've worked hard today. I'll give you some extra treats tonight. In the spiritual spring space, there were more than a dozen animal entrails and hooves. It was enough for the 8 dogs to eat for 7 or 8 days. The air was filled with a fragrant smell of stewed meat. The source of the smell was his home. As he walked into the yard, he heard several people chatting and laughing. His sister-in-law Zhao Huilan and second sister-in-law Yang Fong were helping to process the meat, while his father was responsible for the fire, keeping an eye on the braised meat. As for Zhou Lanqin and Su Yun, they were helping with the sister-in-laws. Earlier, when parting ways with his father, they discussed how to handle the 4 deer and the roe deer meat, whether to make it into braised meat or just skin it and sell fresh meat tomorrow. Chun Dong said, half and half. Tomorrow I plan to go to the county and take Su Yun for a checkup and sell some things along the way. Then see if I can sell the deer antlers at the supply and marketing agency. Regarding the hunting haul, Chun Dong told his father to give Zhuzi a roe deer, 50 pounds of spotted deer meat, and a gray wolf skin. This was the share Zhuzi got from hunting with him in the mountains this time. As for the few people from Jiangjiagu who helped bring the meat home, Uncle Yu guarded the meat back, and then according to Chun Dong's arrangements, they got their share of the meat. Our great contributor, Little Five, is back. Little Five, you're amazing. You went into the old forest for the first time today and managed to hunt so many deer. These 4 big spotted deer and a few roe deer, just the meat alone could sell for several hundred. Plus, you cut 4 pairs of deer antlers. Wow. That must be worth 1,000 or 2,000. Second sister-in-law Yang Fong was the first to stand up, her tone dripping with unhidden flattery. Chun Dong thought to himself, Liang Fong, you sure can talk. She's always like this, with various little schemes and very opportunistic. For instance, last year when he married Su Yun and lived in the old brick house, she complained to his parents that Chun Dong living in the old brick house was already taking advantage, and she even said something about buying him a 3-in-1 sound system. If they bought something for Chun Dong, they'd have to calculate how much money they owed to the 2 sisters-in-law. Now seeing Chun Dong earn so much money from hunting this time, it directly cured her psychological imbalance. Then, obviously, the feeling of imbalance turned into flattery. Chun Dong shook his head and smiled. What wealth? It's just good luck today. Usually, hunting is mostly empty-handed. Brother-in-law, give me the bag. Zhou Lanqin jumped forward and took the green canvas backpack from behind Chun Dong. However, because the backpack was too heavy, she almost dropped it to the ground, but fortunately, Chun Dong grabbed it in time. Brother-in-law, what do you have in your bag? Why is it so heavy? Zhou Lanqin couldn't help but ask. Chun Dong replied, there are many things in the bag, like daggers, ropes, bullets, and also 4 pairs of deer antlers, 3 pairs of roe deer antlers, and 2 large bottles of deer blood that I collected. If you break the deer antlers, it would be a loss of 100 or 200. Zhou Lanqin stuck out her tongue and said, really? If the deer antlers break, they become worthless? Chun Dong nodded, of course. If the deer antlers break, they can only be sold at a discounted price, and the better the condition and completeness of the antlers, the higher the selling price. As he spoke, he opened the large canvas bag and took out 7 deer antlers in succession, then also pulled out a small section of deer antler. Then, he took out 4 roe deer antlers as well. Dad had already gone home and mentioned that Chun Dong went to Wangzhuang, used a piece of deer antler to help Zhou Honglian pay back some money, and then took Zhou Honglian home. There were some small misunderstandings in between, but nothing serious. So let Su Yun put her mind at ease. Brother-in-law, did you use a piece of deer antler to help Sister Honglian pay off her debts? This deer antler is still soft, she said, trying to bite the end of the piece. But Chun Dong quickly snatched the piece of deer antler away from Zhou Lanqin's mouth. Lanqin, you shouldn't casually nibble on fresh deer antlers. There is a lot of deer blood in fresh deer antlers, and the medicinal effects are strong. If you're not careful, you might not sleep well all night. Chun Dong said irritably. Zhou Lanqin, however, skeptically murmured, brother-in-law, I know that deer antlers are precious medicinal materials, but the medicinal effects aren't as exaggerated as you say. To put it simply, aren't they just the antlers of sick deer? Liang Fong, who was nearby, laughed, and said, "Little Zhou, you don't understand. Fresh blood-containing deer antlers have strong medicinal effects and shouldn't be eaten casually. If you eat it, you might feel hot all night and only think about men." Hearing Liang Fong say this, Zhou Lanqing stubbornly retorted, "I don't believe that fresh deer antlers have that much potency. Believe it or not, if you don't try a bite. See if you end up feeling restless all night." Originally, Liang Fong, who didn't think much of Zhou Lanqing because she often argued with her, half-jokingly encouraged her, then turned to Qindong and said, "Xiao Wu, are you selling all these deer antlers? If you keep some for yourself, can you cut a few slices for your second brother?" "Not much, just 10 slices or so," Qindong replied, "Second sister-in-law. I plan to sell all these deer antlers for money. I just need some cash on hand for something." Liang Fong said, "You're really shameless. You actually used my second brother as an excuse to ask me for deer antler slices. If you had said 3 or 5 slices, I would have cut them for you. But you opened your mouth for 10 slices. That's a little over 1 or 2 tails of deer antlers. Can I still let you take advantage of me like before? Dream on." Upon hearing Qindong's words, Liang Fong pouted. Meanwhile, Dad, who was stoking the fire, said nothing throughout. He was a sensible man. On one side was his son, on the other was his daughter-in-law, and he couldn't speak for either of them. After all, he wasn't like Zhang Cui, who would immediately point out any tricks played in front of her. "However, I have 2 large bottles of deer blood here. Deer blood has even better medicinal effects than deer antlers. I'll take them to Dad later, so he can make deer blood wine." Qindong took out 2 bamboo cups. Dad immediately smiled and said, "Xiao Wu, you really know what's good. You even thought of getting deer blood. Deer blood is a good thing. I just happen to have made a barrel of mixed liquor. I'll pour the deer blood into it to keep." While they were busy outside, Qindong walked into the house, and Su Yun followed him inside, quietly asking, "Hubby, is Sister Honglian all right?" Qindong placed his hand on her shoulder, patted it, and smiled. "What's wrong with her?" "There's nothing wrong. You shouldn't overthink it. Tomorrow we'll go to the county town. I'll sell the deer meat and check your body along the way. Let the doctor listen to the baby in your belly. When the deer antlers and deer meat are sold, I'll buy some good things for you and Lanqing." Su Yun shook her head. "No need. We have everything at home." Qindong smiled. "This is my decision. If we make money, we can't just save it without spending. We have to buy something for the family, for my wife and sister-in-law. That wouldn't be right. Making money should come with enjoyment. Zhou Honglian, my big sister-in-law, deserves to be taken care of too." The marinated deer meat was almost done. They had marinated 1.5 sika deer, and 2 others weren't marinated, just skinned. As for the roe deer, they had also marinated 2, with 2 left unprocessed. Besides the marinated deer meat, they also marinated several deer tails and deer testicles together. And Qindong ate some with a little wine. After the energy he spent on Sister Honglian today, it was necessary to replenish himself well. The elder sister-in-law and second sister-in-law took a few pounds of deer meat back home. When Dad left, he took the deer blood with him, saying he would prepare the deer blood wine and bring it back to Qindong later for selling or gifting. He also told Qindong to get up early tomorrow, sell some meat at home first, and then head to the county town around 8 or 9 o'clock. If the meat sells out early, they would visit his elder sister, and on the way back, they would pick up his mother from his second sister's house in the neighboring Dafan town. As for the 5 wolf skins, Dad also took them away, saying they would be processed. Wet wolf skins sell for dozens at the supply and marketing cooperative, but processed wolf skins can sell for over 100 each. Qindong said he wouldn't sell the wolf skins, but instead would make wolf skin pants and cotton padded jackets for his parents. Dad said they couldn't wear such precious things. "Hubby, you've worked hard hunting in the mountains. You must pay attention to safety." After chatting with Su Yun for a while, before going to sleep, Su Yun gently said to Qindong. Qindong softly kissed her forehead and replied, "Wife, don't worry, I will definitely pay attention to safety." In the middle of the night, just as Qindong was sleeping soundly, a commotion of barking dogs and a man's loud voice echoed in the yard. "Xiao Wu, hurry and grab your gun. There are wolves causing trouble." Wolves causing trouble. Qindong suddenly sat up. Images of the few wolves that had followed him flashed through his mind. Chapter 48. Qindongqing has a way to die? Draw a circle around him. He must be killed. Causing trouble means wolves. Qindong's first reaction was to think of the few gray wolves that had followed them. Wolves hold grudges. Moreover, they are very united. Many wolf packs have blood ties. For example, some young male wolves in a pack, after growing up, some ambitious ones will challenge for the position of the leader. Male wolves that fail the challenge may be expelled from the pack and become lone wolves or integrate into other packs. or challenge the leaders of other packs to eventually become leaders themselves. Using the words of some old people in the mountains, in northeast China, wolf packs are like family. Their shoes and hats are all related. On ordinary days, wolf packs may have small-scale conflicts over territory, but during food shortages, wolf packs may even cooperate to hunt large prey. In the northeastern mountains, there have been many outbreaks of wolf disasters. For various reasons, including natural disasters and human misdeeds, many wolves gather in the mountains to carry out indiscriminate attacks on humans and livestock. Even according to some historical documents, when the Japanese troops entered the old forests of northeast China, a wolf disaster broke out, and many Japanese soldiers were seriously injured or even killed by wolves. Locals said that even the ferocious weasels couldn't stand the sight of the inhumane little Japanese soldiers. Some hunters encountered wolves while hunting in the mountains and tried to shoot them, but didn't manage to kill them. Months or even years later, the wolves remembered the hunters and ambushed them. Such tales have been passed down among the mountain people. The so-called Northeast Five Immortals, including the fox, yellow weasel, white weasel, gray weasel, and others, are merely embellishments added for a mysterious touch in legends. There have never been reports of disasters caused by these five animals. However, wolf disasters have occurred many times. Wolves are cunning, vengeful, and ferocious. It seems they have followed him to Chenlutan, attacking people or livestock. Here they come. Dong quickly got out of bed, put on his pants, and threw on a coat as he walked outside. Damn wolf pups. Just wait until I take care of you. Su Yun, who had been under the covers, also woke up. Dong immediately said, "Wife, just sleep well at home. I'm going out to see what's going on." Su Yun, with a somewhat hoarse voice, asked in confusion, "Honey, what's happening?" Dong replied, "It's nothing much. Just a few wolves have come into the village, and I'm going to deal with them." He picked up his double-barreled shotgun and grabbed a canvas bag before heading out of the bedroom. Meanwhile, Zhou Lanxin, who lived next door, groggily opened the door and stepped out. Upon seeing Dong, she rubbed her eyes and sleepily asked, "Brother-in-law, what's going on?" "It's nothing. You go back to sleep," Dong said as he loaded 2 bullets into his shotgun, then clicked the action of his semi-automatic rifle and pulled back the bolt. "Lanxin, remember to close the door tightly." When he opened the door, 8 dogs immediately surrounded him. Dong walked to the entrance and unlatched the wooden door. There stood a middle-aged man in his 40s, scruffy with a beard, holding a flashlight. His name was Guomao, the leader of the 3rd team in their village and one of the few hunters still hunting in the nearby mountains. "Fourth uncle, where are the weasels?" "I'm going to kill them," Dong said with killing intent. In truth, he was feeling a bit anxious. If the wolf pack had injured many people or livestock in Chenlutan, would the blame fall on him? Dong wouldn't shirk responsibility, as he had killed a few wolves and even brought back their skins and meat. That group of wolves might hold a grudge against him and follow him, attacking the villagers and livestock under the cover of night. The responsibility was indeed related to him. But if someone got hurt or died, how could he just say he would take responsibility? If he stepped forward and said he would bear the responsibility, he could end up losing everything, or worse. Someone might want to beat him up. So he figured, let others say what they want. He wouldn't take the blame. What did the wolf disaster have to do with him? Qin Xiaowu. Wolves couldn't talk. In Wangzhuang, Accountant Zhou drove a tractor late at night with a few people to seek help from our nearby villages, saying they had a wolf disaster in their village. There must be hundreds of wolves sweeping through the entire village, killing many mules, horses, and cattle. Several people who went out at night were attacked by the wolves and left bloodied. It was too tragic, Chen Guomao sighed. Wangzhuang has a wolf disaster. Dong, upon hearing this, felt relieved. Wangzhuang has a wolf disaster? Then it's no big deal. Then Dong had a strange expression, thinking to himself, could it be that the wolves following him had trailed all the way to Wangzhuang? Then, under the cover of night, they could have ambushed the people of Wangzhuang. There was a strong possibility that the people of Wangzhuang were taking the brunt of it for him. If that were the case, Dong smiled. Those fools from Wangzhuang were thinking of ganging up on him in the evening. Now they were getting their comeuppance. All right, Xiaowu, take your dogs. I'll go call Han San, and we'll gather over 20 people from our village to go to Wangzhuang. Guomao said anxiously. Fourth uncle, our village is several miles from Wangzhuang. By the time we get there, it might all be over, Dong said. Over 100 wolves? Just thinking about it is terrifying. I don't need to take risks for those fools. If they die, that's even better. I was planning to take out some people from Wangzhuang anyway. We should go take a look. We can't just stand by and watch. If we get there and it's all over, we'll just have made a trip for nothing, Guomao said. He naturally didn't know about Chundong's ulterior motives. Fine, I'll go call Air Zhuzi. That kid is quite strong with his stick. And he can easily kill a wolf with one hit, Chundong said. He thought of Air Zhuzi as a reliable meat shield. Although he wouldn't be bringing him into the mountains in the future, having Air Zhuzi as a meat shield for this wolf disaster gave him a sense of security. Da Huang, you let Da He, Xiao Huang, a San, and a Si stay home to watch the house. You take the 2 and the other 3 dogs with me. Before leaving, Chundong thought of something and gestured to Da Huang. Da Huang quickly understood and let out a low whine. Da Huang led the 2 and the other 3 dogs out, while Da He, Xiao Huang, and the other 4 dogs reluctantly stayed home. Wolves are cunning. Who knows if it's a wolf's trick to lure them away? Of course, Chundong thought it was unlikely. No matter how cunning the wolves were, how far would they need to lure them? However, to be safe, he left Da He, Xiao Huang, and the other 4 dogs at home. With Da He and Xiao Huang as heavyweights, along with the other 2 dogs after drinking the spirit spring water, they could handle 2 or 3 wolves alone without issue. Soon, 15 people from Qinluotan, armed with long guns and short cannons, some even leading dogs, were running towards Wangzhuang for support. Air Zhuzi, once we get to Wangzhuang, stick close to me, Chundong whispered to Air Zhuzi beside him. Although they had 4 dogs with them and 2 guns in hand, which provided a sense of security, Chundong was thinking of being doubly cautious. Got it, 5th brother. Air Zhuzi tightened his grip on the steel rod in his hand. Some people joked with Air Zhuzi. Air Zhuzi, you've been doing well following your 5th brother these days, eating meat every day. How do you manage to carry home those dozens of pounds of meat at night? I stewed a few pounds of sika deer meat, the rest. My dad said he would make into jerky, Air Zhuzi replied honestly. Is the stewed sika deer meat good? It's good, hee. Air Zhuzi, how many have you shot while hunting with your 5th brother? All of them were shot by 5th brother. You've grown tall, but you're not pulling your weight. Xiaowu, when you sell meat tomorrow morning, save me a few pounds. Sure. Xiaowu, your luck has been too good this time in the mountains. You shot 4 sika deer and several roe deer. Just the 4 antlers alone could sell for 1,000 or 2. You're really getting rich. Erlong, what do you mean getting rich? It's just luck. Whether the antlers can sell for that price will be known tomorrow when we sell them. Besides, next time we go into the mountains, we might not have such good luck. You know hunting depends on the weather. Chundong replied with a smile to someone from the village. Next time I go into the mountains alone, if I'm lucky enough to catch more prey, I'll just store them in the spirit spring space. I can't always be catching a lot of prey, right? Wealth shouldn't be flaunted. I've been too lucky these past 2 times, and having people around makes it hard to keep a low profile. In this era, in rural areas, families with money are easily envied by others. De Cheng, didn't you say early in the morning that you wanted to go hunting with Xiaowu? If you go, you'll get a good share of the prey too. Someone joked with Qin Dongqing, who was also heading to Wangzhuang to drive away the wolves. He had a homemade shotgun passed down from his father. Among these 15 people, except for Air Zhuzi who had no gun, the other 14 each held a gun. In this era, the prohibition of firearms had not yet begun, and their ancestors relied on hunting for a living. So there were usually a couple of hunting rifles at home. Hearing what someone from the village said, Chun Dongqing sarcastically remarked, I don't have such good fortune. Not worthy to go hunting with you guys. While he spoke, he still felt the sting from the 2 slaps Chun Dong had given him. Chun Dong didn't let it slide and retorted, yeah, I wouldn't take a mouthy person like you to hunt. Fine, fine. You have your reasons, and make it seem like you're so capable. Even if I don't go hunting with you, I can still hunt in the mountains myself. Chun Dongqing replied irritably, then added sarcastically, I heard you shot a few wild boars during the day, lugging the skins back, and then went to Wangzhuang halfway. Is it true that you brought the wild boars to Wangzhuang when they started causing trouble at midnight? However, before he could finish his sentence, he felt a sharp pain in his chest, and under a powerful force, he fell directly to the ground, clutching his chest and crying out in agony. What the hell are you talking about? Why does Wangzhuang's wild boar trouble concern me? Qin Dong, who had kicked Qin Dongqing to the ground, furiously questioned. Qin Dongqing was already on a path to death. Drawing a line around him, he had to be eliminated. Chapter 49. The plan to eliminate Wang Changhe by taking advantage of the wolf disaster. Damn it, you really think I'm easy to bully? Qin Dongqing, who had been kicked to the ground, endured the pain in his chest and got up, grabbing the shotgun on his back, aiming it directly at Qin Dong. Pushing off the safety and placing his finger on the trigger. Just as he was about to raise the gun, Qin Dong sidestepped, quickly pulling out his Type 56 rifle from behind, chambering around, and aiming it at Qin Dongqing. During this series of actions, Air Zhuzai stood in front of Chun Dong without saying a word, his eyes wide open like copper bells, staring at Chun Dongqing, tightly gripping a 30-kilogram steel rod. What are you doing? What are you two doing? Put down the guns. What are you pointing guns at each other for in the village? It's embarrassing. Someone quickly stepped forward to press down the barrels of the two guns. After several people persuaded them, both put their guns behind their backs. He pointed the gun at me first. Chun Dong spoke up directly. He wanted to throw the blame out there, letting everyone know the truth. In front of everyone. Chun Dong would not fire unless he was pushed to the brink. He believed the same was true for Chun Dongqing. He was just trying to scare Chun Dong. Of course, if he dared to shoot, Chun Dong would likely be safe because Air Zhuzai was the flesh shield standing in front of him. Call that kid Air Zhuzai over, call it right. However, thinking about being aimed at by Chun Dongqing with the shotgun made Chun Dong feel a bit uneasy. The death sentence had already been issued for Chun Dongqing. He was 100% going to eliminate Chun Dongqing. What the hell do you mean by kicking me? Chun Dongqing clutched his still painful chest, grinning as he yelled back. Chun Dong cursed, "Why did I kick you? I just said your mouth was foul. And you just had to act like a fool. What do you mean I attracted the wild boars to Wangzhuang? Ask the hunters around here, how many have hunted wild boars? Many have blood on their hands from them. Why should I be blamed for the wild boars just because I shot one? And if I shot them, why didn't they quietly follow me back to our village? If the people from Wangzhuang hear you, I already have conflicts with some of them. They will definitely pin the blame on me. How am I supposed to explain that? What if they insist this wild boar trouble is my fault?" The more Chun Dong scolded, the angrier he became. He was already thinking about this matter. But Chun Dongqing had the nerve to say it in front of everyone. How could that not make Chun Dong furious? So, taking advantage of the crowd, he brought up his concerns so that when those people from Wangzhuang really blamed him, these people could speak up for him. Chun Dongqing had already marked him for death in his mind. Xiao Wu is right. You're right, De Kingzi. What you said is indeed problematic. If you say it like that, the people from Wangzhuang will definitely connect it to him shooting the wild boars, and then they might blame it on Xiao Wu. Chen Guomao said seriously. Someone beside him added, "That's true. Some jokes shouldn't be made lightly. You're joking. But what if the people from Wangzhuang really blame Xiao Wu? Xiao Wu, you were too impulsive. You shouldn't have hit him. With us here. How could we let the people from Wangzhuang pin this on you?" Exactly, Xiao Wu. You're right. De Kingzi's words were wrong, but you acted too rashly. How could you just attack him directly? Xiao Wu, don't worry about this. With us here, the people from Wangzhuang can't possibly blame you for this. After all, who hasn't shot a wild boar after years of hunting? It's simply unreasonable to blame you for this wild boar trouble. After several people persuaded them, neither Chun Dong nor Chun Dongqing said much more, but when Chun Dongqing occasionally looked at him with that sinister gaze, Chun Dong knew that this kid was up to no good. Soon, they were almost at Wangzhuang. As they approached a hill before entering Wangzhuang, they could see several bonfires burning in various places under the night sky. In addition, there were many sounds of pots being struck. The bonfires and the sounds were all for wolf defense. The walls of the mountain people's yards were not high. They were either made of stone or mud, or even some were just fences. It was unrealistic to stop the wolves. A wolf can easily jump over a 1 or 2 meter wall. Many flashlight beams were moving around in the village, and they occasionally heard gunshots and the howls of wolves. Bang! Bang! Chun Guomao and a few others fired a few shots into the sky to notify the people of Wangzhuang that they were coming. Soon, they saw a few beams of flashlight moving at the village entrance, and their group immediately headed towards the direction of the flashlight beams. "Captain Guomao, you're here. Thank you to the old and young folks from Chunlu for coming to support us." An older man clasped his fists in greeting to Chun Guomao and the others. Chun Guomao and the others responded with clasped fists. This old man was known to Chun Dong. He was a senior hunter from Wangzhuang, ranked 6th. In his youth, he was called Wang Laolu, and as he aged, due to his seniority in the village, some people called him Wang Lugong. In the past, Chun Dong's father had hunted with Wang Laolu, and Chun Dong followed along, so he knew him. "The folks from Chunlu, you guys should go around from the west. Those wild boars are still wreaking havoc in the village, taking advantage of the darkness. Let us try to corner this group and take them all out." Wang Lugong pointed to the west of the village and said to Chun Guomao and the others, "These wolves are quite clever. They have scattered into many groups, making it difficult for us to deal with them. But we have guns, so why should we be afraid of these wolf pups? All right, Lugong. We'll go around from the west. The folks from Chunlu, come with me," Chun Guomao said as he hoisted his single-barrel shotgun. Wang Lugong glanced at Chun Dong and then smiled. "Aren't you Xiao Wu from Old Shoe's family? I heard you caused a ruckus in our Wangzhuang when you were young. You can still come to support us here. You're quite loyal. Shindong smiled and said, Sixth Master, what you said is true. As for the matter of lurking in the dark, the men from Wang Village know what's going on. As for me coming to support Wang Village, we are all from the same hometown. Even if I'm upset, I can't just stand by and watch, can I? To the west of the village, Wang Chang's home is located quite far to the west. Is it possible to use the wolf disaster to deal with Wang Changhe? Shindong's mind was racing. If we were to eliminate potential dangers, Wang Changhe would definitely be at the top of the list. All right, you are quite righteous. Sixth Master Wang cupped his fists in gratitude. After watching Chun Dong and the others leave, someone from Wang Village said, This little Wu from Chenlu does seem quite righteous. Indeed, he is quite righteous. That incident this evening was truly unscrupulous. If little Wu hadn't been merciful, many people from our village would have been in trouble, another person praised. Once they entered the village, Chun Guimao arranged for several people to form groups. Shindong voluntarily suggested teaming up with Heir Zhuzi. With 4 dogs accompanying him, he felt confident that even if they encountered a few wolves, they could hold them off for a while. They agreed that if they encountered a large pack of wolves, they would ring the gong for reinforcements. Big Yellow, can you find a few coyotes nearby? Shindong reached into his pocket, took out a small piece of wolf meat from the spiritual spring space, and placed it under Big Yellow's nose, asking. Big Yellow let out a whimper and then looked in one direction, wagging its tail vigorously. Zhuzi, you climb up the tree and keep watch. I'll go over there and see if I can drive the wolves over. If I can. You jump down and use the stick to knock them out. Shindong pointed to a crooked old juju tree not far away and said to Heir Zhuzi. All right. Fifth brother, Heir Zhuzi nodded seriously. Shindong had already thought of a way to use the wolf disaster to deal with Wang Changhe. That was to use the wolves. He planned to see if he could catch a few wolves and put them into the spiritual spring space, then go to Wang Chang's house. If the opportunity arose, he would directly throw the wolves out. If possible, he would command Big Yellow to kill them. He went to catch wolves, but had to think about Heir Zhuzi's safety. Even though Chun Dong didn't take him hunting, he would protect this brother for life. Big Yellow, if you find a wolf, don't kill them right away. Find a way to hold them down and catch them alive. Shindong instructed Big Yellow after leaving Heir Zhuzi. Big Yellow was already familiar with the command to catch live prey. It had caught rabbits and such alive for Shindong before. Big Yellow, being quite clever, soon led the other 3 dogs to find a few wolves, and they started to engage. Chapter 50, Double Happiness, Wang Changhe and Wang Kuan-yu die. When Shindong quickly arrived, he exclaimed, Wow! Under the light of the flashlight, in a narrow and cramped alley, Big Yellow and the other 4 dogs had each pinned a wolf down, their mouths pressing against the wolves' necks. The 4 wolves were trembling in fear. Meanwhile, 2 other wolves lay on the ground, howling in pain, with multiple bleeding wounds indicating they were seriously injured. Big Yellow, who had been transformed by a hunting dog enlightenment talisman, faced 6 gray wolves and commanded each dog to hold down 1 gray wolf. This way, they not only completed Shindong's task, but also minimized the risk of being attacked. Wolves are cunning, but Big Yellow's intelligence was not lower than that of the wolves. Not to mention it had been enhanced by the enlightenment talisman, making it very smart. With their bodies transformed by the spiritual spring water, their strength and speed made it easy to hold down gray wolves that were larger than them. Holding a sharp machete in one hand and a double-barreled shotgun in the other, Shindong approached the gray wolf that Big Yellow was suppressing and touched its rear. When the gray wolf saw this strange 2-legged creature approaching, it bared its teeth and struggled to escape Big Yellow's hold. But the next moment, it vanished from sight. Woof! Woof! Big Yellow barked a few times into the air, looking at Shindong with a confused expression. Big Yellow, Master, even though I'm not human, you're a good dog. Next, Shindong collected the wolves that the other 3 dogs had pinned down into the spiritual spring space. The other 3 dogs were a bit confused. Where did the big wolf they were holding down go? As for the 2 seriously injured wolves, Shindong shot them in the head with a shotgun, then hung their bodies on a low earthen wall nearby. What use were the severely injured wolves that couldn't move? Other hunters who saw this understood that the wolf's body now belonged to whoever killed it. In such matters, everyone would seize the prey they shot. Big Yellow, this is a reward for you. Shindong dropped a drop of spiritual spring water by each of the 4 dogs' mouths. He hadn't fed them spiritual spring water yet today. But since they performed well, each dog received a drop. After consuming the spiritual spring water, the 4 dogs appeared very excited. Big Yellow, take them and continue. Shindong patted Big Yellow's head. Big Yellow rubbed its head gently against Chun Dong's calf, then let out a low whine, sniffing the air to locate a direction, and then led the other 3 dogs forward. Chun Dong quickly followed behind. In less than 2 minutes, Chun Dong heard Big Yellow's high-pitched barks and hurried towards the sound. Under the beam of his flashlight, he found 2 wolves being pinned down by the 4 dogs near a low stone wall by the roadside. The wolf pack that had entered Wong Village had already scattered. At first, when the wolf disaster began, they used the cover of night to launch surprise attacks on the people and livestock of Wong Village. However, once the villagers reacted and took precautions, attacking them with guns, the wolves were scattered, avoiding disaster. In the face of human guns, no matter how united these wolves were, they became disorganized. Chun Dong collected the 2 wolves into the spiritual spring space. 6 wolves. That was more than enough to deal with Wang Changha. Wang Changha, let's see if the King of Hell will take your life tonight. After collecting the 2 wolves, Chun Dong said coldly. He didn't know whether Wang Changha was at home or what he was doing. If he wasn't home or had gone out to hunt wolves, then today he wouldn't be able to take Wang Changha's life. Leading the 4 dogs and holding the gun, he headed straight for Wang Changha's house. Perhaps due to his associations with some local rascals and his frequent involvement in shady activities, Wang Changha lived alone in a courtyard. After walking a few steps, he saw someone with a flashlight approaching. When they got closer, he realized it was 3 people from Wong Village, including Chun Dongchen. One person from Wong Village laughed and said, "Little Wu, did you find any coyotes?" Chun Dong smiled. "The dog's nose is sharp. I found 2. While they were distracted, I shot them and hung them on that wall." "Good job, Little Wu. You even shot 2. The 3 of us didn't see a single hair. These coyotes are too cunning. They probably saw we were in a group and either ran or hid." "Where's Juzi?" someone asked. Chun Dong replied, "I had Juzi keep watch over there while I took the dogs to him. We might be able to block 1 or 2 coyotes. Those coyotes are indeed too cunning. I suspect many have hidden in others' homes." Chun Dong continued, thinking. The person shook his head and smiled. "There should be quite a few that have hidden in others' homes. We can't just barge into their houses. All right, since we're all here, let's run around a bit and wait until it's time to head back." A few people immediately dispersed. Chun Dongqing watched as Chun Dong walked away with a flashlight, feeling sinister. Damn it. It's just because he got lucky hunting and has a few decent dogs that he's acting all high and mighty. Just wait. Don't let me find a chance to deal with you, or I'll make sure to torment you to death. Chun Dongqing recalled how, just 2 days ago, he had been slapped twice in front of everyone by Chun Dong, followed by a kick and being cursed at, which left him very unhappy. He held a grudge against Chun Dong. On Chun Dong's side, he thought, "Chun Dongqing, you're lucky. If it were just you alone, I would have killed you right away and stored your body in the spirit spring space, then tossed you into the mountains to feed the beasts." Arriving at Wang Changha's doorstep, he heard barking from his house. He raised 2 large German shepherds. After thinking for a moment, Chun Dong put the 4 dogs, including De Huang, into the spirit spring space, then climbed over a wall and jumped down. Once inside the yard, Chun Dong released the 4 dogs and quietly instructed the 2 barking German shepherds at the door. "De Huang, go deal with them. Make them stop barking." De Huang growled and charged, pinning the 2 German shepherds down. Under De Huang's growls, the 2 German shepherds were so frightened they stopped barking and even wet themselves. Chun Dong covered the flashlight with cloth, allowing a faint light to shine as he walked towards the main room of Wang Changha's house. When he reached the door, he found it only closed but not bolted. A strong smell of alcohol wafted from inside. Before he could quietly enter, he heard Wang Changha's drunken curses from the room. "You damn dogs have been barking all night. If you don't shut up, I'll kill you." It seemed he had drunk too much. With the covered flashlight, Chun Dong entered Wang Changha's room. In the dim light, he saw Wang Changha lying on the bed. Gritting his teeth, he approached Wang Changha, took a peeled wolf head from the spirit spring space, and pried its mouth open wide, exposing its sharp teeth. He then positioned the wolf's mouth against Wang Changha's throat and squeezed hard. The sharp teeth pierced directly into Wang Changha's throat, and blood sprayed out instantly. Wang Changha tried to scream, but as soon as he opened his mouth, Chun Dong stuffed a towel into it. One hand covered his nose and mouth, while the other pressed down on the wolf's head. Blood splattered onto his arm and even his face. Wang Changha, with his mouth and nose covered, struggled a few times. Then his body convulsed before going completely still. After putting the wolf head back in the spirit spring space, he stood at the bedroom door and released the 6 wolves he had previously stored there. He pulled the door shut, and initially, the room was quiet. But after a minute, The 6 wolves began to move around. Amid the low growls and sounds of biting, he heard the distinct cracking of bones. Chen Dong retreated, recalled the 4 dogs, and, hearing no commotion outside, climbed the wall and jumped out. An hour later, the group involved in the wolf hunting gathered in the Wangzhuang village committee yard, where over 20 wolf corpses were laid out. Despite killing many wolves, the villagers and hunters all wore serious expressions because 7 people from Wangzhuang had been killed by wolves. Among them, Wang Changhe had the most tragic fate. Wolves jumped into his house because he had forgotten to close the door, and in front of 2 dogs, they tore him apart. His intestines were strewn all over the place. Chen Dong secretly rejoiced that Wang Kuan-yu was among the 7 killed as well. For Chen Dong, this was a double blessing. One was responsible for his little sister's suicide in a past life, and the other attempted to meddle with Zhou Honglian, who was allied with him. With the 2 most dangerous people gone, next would be Chen Dongchen. As for Wang Datsai and others who tried to rob him of his prey, he could let them off for now, but if they dared to mess with him again, he would find a way to kill them. Not only Wang Changhe and Wang Kuan-yu were dead, but some villagers were quietly discussing how heaven had eyes, and these 2 got their comeuppance. You're back. When Chen Dong returned home carrying 2 wolves, and each villager had given him 20 pounds of corn flour as thanks for helping to hunt the wolves,